this recent one that came
The
up?
recent one where I got to play with you two guys. That one in particular.
Yeah.
That was great.
That was
It just
that is my highlight right
that was,
now. Like,
What
like
is
we
that
just
noise?
gelled.
Oh, that's just
it
guys
is,
doing some.
ASG.
You know, we just started recording and that like.
The moment it
the
turned
moment
on.
it started happening. Well then, welcome guys.
Do you want me to ask them how long they are going to be
I have
working?
no idea, but at this point, I don't really care.
Okay, well.
Who wants to start off? I've been doing the starting for forever now.
Hi, welcome back to another episode of Panther Airsoft Folding Table Talk with your hosts Poi, Tack, and Mac.
Wow.
Was that okay?
Yeah, that was okay.
Sarcastic.
Oh, you also forgot our guest.
Sarcastic.
You also
Well,
forgot our guest.
I was just gonna do like a main build for that, so I apologize.
Working your way up. No, I'm not feeling left out. I was still impressed. You got all the names right, and well done.
So in this segment, we have Craig. You go by call
Merlin.
sign Merlin.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that. Why Merlin?
It started way back when I was with Marauders,
Yeah.
and I was just really good with the maps and getting us to places. So as our
You
team
were the
developed,
wizard.
exactly. My last name being Wisdom.
Yeah.
It went to Wizard, and then from that, someone came out Merlin, and then I was just really good at making us pop up behind the enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
all
good at
alive.
that.
Yeah,
I wasn't really
that's,
good at fighting. That was somebody else's job, but I could get you there.
Yeah.
I can definitely say that has happened a couple of times.
Definitely have 10 out of 10 would let Craig drive.
So you guys done your first night game with him as well, right?
Yeah, well,
that
so
was-
that's what I was talking about at the very beginning there, a couple weeks back when ASG had their, or it's
I think it
got to
was-
be a month now, right?
Yeah,
Come on
it was
now,
the first
yeah.
one.
Yeah, I believe
first one that they
yes,
had
it was the first
officially
one.
back.
Yeah.
And yes, I got to play 2 back-to-back games of Escort the VIP with Merlin being the VIP, and that was some of the most organic and most fun airsoft I've had in.
Yeah, it was a true night game experience.
Merlin, you're legendary in the airsoft community for just popping
Being the
up.
oldest guy, my gray hair. That's right.
It's another bragging point, but no, it's definitely not what you're known for.
I could tell you guys from what is Op Red Dawn back 2016,
Oh, yeah,
2015,
yeah,
2016.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
forgot when. That was a while
15?
ago.
Yeah.
He was my commander
Yep.
for Red Forces.
He was,
I guess
yes.
yeah, we were Reds. And one night he goes, you go into the enemy base. Not only did you steal the water, the med supplies,
We even stole the table. We stole the table.
You even stole a table.
We took everything we could
I don't
that
know
was
how
on
you
the table,
managed to
including the
get-
table.
get out
And
with
then
the
they didn't even
table.
notice them. You know what I mean? Like,
This is what I'm saying. He's
In fact,
legendary.
In
He's
fact,
legendary.
we still have the commander's notebook
oh
and
my
his
gosh.
armbands that he had taken off because he had gone to sleep.
And the next day, I believe the commander quit.
Oh no way! Are you
It was
serious?
there was a little bit of being a
Yeah,
little
he was
upset,
upset.
but yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean,
I wouldn't be
took all their
upset. I
water.
would be like, honestly, like, that's fair game.
Well,
Damn.
first of all, where was your security?
Yeah. Did you, I
that's
guess
the
they
first
left.
thing I would ask.
I guess they left the
was on
16-year-olds
guard?
in charge of security.
Nobody.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
nobody.
Yeah.
That's just
There
as
is
good.
no sentry on guard.
Okay, just as good. Okay. Well, my question is for the viewers out there: how long have you been involved in airsoft?
Oh my God, that's been
Can't count anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Without I started off in paintball
Okay.
with Marauders of all teams, and then at some point, paintball started to fall apart. Got a little too expensive. We all got into airsoft, super cool gear. Made the move over, and then realized, wow, we really, it was all the things we were looking for. That because we were a woods ball paintball team.
Not a speeds ball.
Not a
Okay,
speed
all
ball.
right, yeah.
Big difference, big difference.
We did do a bit of time where we played. Black Mambas was the name of the speedball team that came out of Marauders and then came back in.
Okay.
And it had its skill sets because that's where we learned how to just. Superior firepower will suppress most people.
volume
You
of
can scare
fire,
them, and you had that time with paintball where you could do
Still
the
the same logic for Marauders
exactly,
right now.
yeah. 36 balls a second in the air, 5 guys. That's a lot of
We
mess
love you
going
guys. We love you,
downhill.
Blair.
I don't love you, Blair. Because there has been some talk about that, and no, I don't.
Rivalry there.
Okay, I'll shoot you here next with a question. So obviously, you've been playing for quite a long time.
Too long.
And everything. How does your family feel about you being so into this community and stuff like that?
Well, it's funny because I come from New Brunswick, so I left my entire family on the other end of the coast.
Okay.
So and I separated myself for that, so I could go live my dreams of just running through the woods shooting stuff. It would be or being hunted. It went both ways. My wife, very tolerant. In fact, she has played, and same with my son.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And with that, she's actually a member of Marauders.
Okay.
Right. Standing on that, and so that's made it a lot easier. But it hasn't always been, the easiest thing because we and all have gone down to Milson West at one time or another.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like all my buddies, we were all like had to go. We went Russian, so we went full in. We spent a lot of money getting all our Russian kit.
Yeah.
We were all joking one night about how much it cost, and they were like, "Yeah, we dropped about $2,000." And I kind of had to confess up, well, I actually dropped 25 because I had to buy my wife a PlayStation 4, so that she could be at home playing video games while I'm in the woods playing another version of video game.
Expense.
And that was the extra expense I had. But yeah, working on that, yeah.
But worth it, though.
Totally worth it. Totally worth it.
Yeah, there you go. Worth it, guys.
Hey, you heard it here first, folks. It's worth it.
Yeah, and I might have dated myself there with the PlayStation 4. But,
Crazy. So how many years now? Like you were saying, like you didn't give us a
we
number.
had- I never did get to a
Give us
number
a
on that.
ballpark.
yeah, well, we're, I'm going to say around 20.
Wow.
Okay.
Between,
All right.
yeah. Hard to say.
And
yeah.
is that on top of paintball as well? Is that
Yeah, that's with paintball. So,
So you've seen the entire community just grow, and
yeah,
just
very
everything.
much so. I mean, when I started playing paintball, it was there was a few airsofters playing on the very fringe. Now it's completely changed. It's airsoft with a couple of paintballers on the fringe.
Yeah.
Very
I mean,
much so.
the paintballers have been coming back. I think more organized in the more Milsim and almost airsoft style over that.
I've seen you once in a while. You do play with the MagFed
Yeah, they're
paintballers as
great
well, right?
fun. Yeah, I really enjoy that. There's something about something really heavy whistling over your head that just reminds, oh yes, get
So
down.
for our viewers, what is the difference between MagFed and regular paintball? And like,
Well, MagFed is very much more on. Okay, instead of a hopper on top where you're just dropping in as much paint as you can carry onto the field,
yeah.
MagFed is you're loading up with 20 rounds into a mag, clipping in, and one shot type of idea. So you're very much that style of airsoft that I like is
Yeah.
that when I load up my mags, I'm basically dropping, 30 rounds in, 34 maybe because a couple get lost, but that's basically what I'm, carrying out onto the field.
Yeah. Okay. So
So a lot closer
I'm not-
towards
no,
the
not-
realism.
yeah,
and
I
everything.
like
You're
the-
not
I like-
carrying 300 rounds. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
And
I
my-
take it
and my
PTS
pistol-
doesn't have your money with their new magazine.
My pistol that I carry is a 1911 because I'm old, and I carry 3 mags and I load them up 9 rounds each. It's like and I sometimes I do have the real steel version of them, and so I just kind of play on that same sort of dynamics of it and enjoy it that way. Yeah.
Well, one thing you don't have to worry about is that you'll be able to cycle every shot.
No.
as far as like you playing airsoft, what is like your play style? I know this is probably gonna dive into the topics here, but like,
yeah.
are you more of the sit back command type? Are you at the front? Are you
You know,
are you the sneaky? I know you're the sneaky type.
Yeah.
What is your play style?
Over the years, I've gone through different phases, and maybe with older wisdom, let's go with that, or
Yep.
knowledge, and the fact that I've been able to find some great guys that I play with, Scott, and then many other guys, Roman, and all the guys that I play with Legion. Excuse me, I got a burp there because I've been drinking too much coffee.
Yep.
But we've gotten into this sort of little dynamics, and if you know where you stand in your team, and you're able to find your little place. My place is I'm not bad at leading, but there's definitely in our squad. Scott has got got the voice. We call him Jukebox.
Yep.
Totally, that is who he is. You recognize his voice. He's the guy who can figure out the radios. I can't. I'm terrible at that. I'm not the tech guy. That's another guy. But I'm the, try to organize the team, motivator. I'm the guy who runs up and down the line, making sure everybody's in the right place and trying to communicate.
So
That's where I've kinda
you're
come.
basically working for the CEO. You're the XO at that point.
Yeah, many
You're the
times.
second in
Yeah.
command.
Quality
Because
control here.
whenever I see you in Milsims, that's what I usually like see right away. I see Jukebox, like Scott right away. I'm like, I'm familiar with his leadership. I've done like way too many Milsims with him to know how I run as well in my group. And then as well as seeing you, like it's great seeing both of you at the field. I'm like, oh good, I'm working with these guys. I know what they're gonna do. I know they know what I'm gonna do. That sort of deal.
That's very much it, yeah.
Yeah.
Knowing that when you turn to your left, the squad that's going to be there, and then you look away and you come back and they're still there, that is a bonus.
Especially when it
Because
comes
many
to
times it doesn't work
airsoft.
out like
Oh
that.
my God.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're basically like the second in command guy, but you're more like the guy who comes around the line and tells everybody this is what it is, this is how it is, this is what we're gonna do, this is what the commander's gonna do. Like you're basically the hustler of the platoon, basically.
Yeah. My job is to run around. That's why I'm so slim. I seem to lose a lot of weight during these events because Scott is controlling from the back, and as he should. I mean, there's a lot of times we all have this discussion. Everyone wants to be the guy who commands from the front. Doesn't always pan out because you're also the first guy to die, which now means you have no leadership. So the guy who actually is commanding from the back, he's actually he's hiding in the back. It's not that he's actually given up his time to be the guy at the front to keep the bigger game
Picture
going
going,
and the
exactly.
bigger picture going and get the actual
And
events
I think
done.
for the airsoft community that runs the Milsim, I think it's great to have people like that know what they're doing. And we're literally jumping into our topic here.
We're working our way there.
Surprised, yeah.
Exactly.
Any more questions for Craig there? Because like he's a wealth of knowledge.
Crossfire 2.5? Question mark?
Yeah, as long as the apocalypse holds off.
Yeah, as long as
it is-
for everyone out there listening, I know there's a lot of sad guys out there that we're all planning to go to Crossfire. All of us being some of those people and stuff. So, like, the second you give us the word, we'll pump it out there.
Airplanes
Shut
are
up
here.
and take my money.
So 10 out of 10 would die in the helicopter.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had the helicopter lined
Oh,
up.
I
We
know,
had
yeah.
everything ready to go, and we had built on what we had done last year. Worked out a lot of the kinks. Had some new surprises already, which we'll now of course save for next
For the next one,
2.5,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
of course.
yeah.
2.5.
So 2.5.
Or 2.1 if we want to go by patch standards, right? Just apocalypse patch in there, just
Yes.
And last question here: what team are you under currently? You said you were with Marauders. Now with your
Well, I started with Marauders way
Yeah.
back as a paintball, and when we moved into Airsoft, because we got more into the technical side of stuff, we sort of diverged as a team into which would be Marauders and Legion.
Yeah.
And Legion, Marauders is not to poo-poo my guys on the Marauders, but they are very good at the blunt force, straight up the middle, pound the enemy.
Heavy hitters,
Heavy
yeah.
hitters,
But
right?
you guys
They're really
do
skills.
it with such finesse and communication. Whenever I see you guys in Milsim West, you guys do it so well, though.
And with Marauders, Legion, we did the very same idea. We kept all the great things from Marauders, and then we tried to build on them. And that we were more into a bit more military style of play, and more the sneak and peek and sort of swing the flank and try to hit and come up with different ways of hitting the enemy. So we split as a group. So most of Legion comes from Marauders, and so that's barely where we stand right now. Now, a lot of the guys over this whole apocalypse thing have sort of wandered away, and we have to rebuild a little bit.
Yep.
But everyone gets lives. There's a few kids that have been born. A few mortgages, bangs, a couple of jobs that have slipped in.
The great old life.
The great old life stuff,
reality
the
coming
reality.
in to slap
Yeah.
you in the face, right?
Yeah.
I know.
So as far as like Legio, yeah, that's your main team. I've seen in different circumstances is like Omega Ops, and then you have like Knights of Endor. Like what do you have under those? Those are like sub teams, right? Or?
Well, Legion is there's premise. So under Legion, because it was a Roman denomination type of idea, because we wanted to be somewhat respectful to the military guys and the fact that they have earned their rank. We didn't want to, set any sort of rank system that how our organization was that mimicked or, it took liberties to other professionals. We came up with Legion and took it under the sort of Roman concept of how they set up their forces. So we had premise, Knights of, oh my God, I forgot.
Knights KOE, Knights of Endor.
KOE. And then we had
that's very Star Wars-esque, actually.
It was, Then we had a third one, which was the Mandarins. So I miss
Myrmidons or
no, I called them the Mandarins. Those little oranges that you get from China.
Yeah,
they were great. Mandarin oranges. That's how we actually met, because I got their name wrong, and they were my favorite little treats. Come on, guys!
So that's a subgroup.
That's a subgroup, yeah. So they became 3 sort of cohorts. So they got to keep their original names, and they're all they had. They just sort of signed under Legion as a main force. Now Omega is a standalone company. We use Legion for helping us out and all that type of stuff, because they're our friends and they would jump in. But they basically play as their own force, and Omega is a company that basically runs events.
Okay. So the business side of things, and then there's the fun side.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So whenever I'm playing as Legion.
Okay.
It's good to know the history and as well as like how it is, because as someone who's played here long enough, sometimes you just don't know how the teams run and stuff like that, right? It's like there's always a big backstory to it. We just don't know. It's good to get someone like yourself, or someone who's like knows the history.
Yeah, there's the amount of teams that have been come and gone at this point.
Yeah.
Like there's just endless little stories of who they are, what they built. You just go around the field and you can basically name things by the teams.
What they became
and where they came and went. Some are still around, some died and came back, rebuilt, and are still doing stuff, which is amazing.
Rest in peace, Crack Shack, by the way.
Exactly.
Rest in peace, Crack Shack.
Good job. That was a great name.
That was a great one.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I mean,
Sorry, not sorry.
it was a great game. Yes. Was it dangerous? Also, yes.
And we started with burning the helicopter down with the crash site of the helicopter, and finished with the blowing up of the crash site.
It's like, I don't know how you can ever top that, guys. That's peak Panther.
This is peak Panther right here, guys. Thanks to Legio. Omega Ops. No, Omega Ops.
It was Omega when you guys ran that one, right?
Yeah.
Panzerfaust was?
Yeah. That's always great when I hear events running by you guys. So yeah.
Well, it's the dynamics of the team. Like how I got in as Scott and actually Roman started Omega.
Yep.
And I was being Legion as part of it, so I was just helping them out, and then we started helping out, and of course I build props and stuff like that. So that was really sort of was my sort of side of things, more realistic props for the field. But then the dynamics of the actual company went in the way that Roman had like great ideas, but pushed them way past the safety barrier. Scott was really good at organizing, but couldn't quite control Roman's enthusiasm. Yeah. My job was basically to help set that line and
bring him down to reality.
Pull Roman back to the point where no one got hurt or got sued. And that was sort of my line.
I think the borderline was when we blew up Crack Shack.
I think that's right there. The line has been made, guys. If you need to know.
We're not going to redo that again.
There was a moment where we were doing the game up in Golden. I think it was the second or third one. I can't quite remember. I think maybe second, where we had again we were command of the NATO forces or maybe the Russian forces. I can't remember anymore. And
you guys lit up your nuke site, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. We lit that on fire, but just that came on a whim by Roman.
You're not carrying it back home, I guess.
No, exactly.
That's why you wanted to blow.
We were asked that we had held off the enemy, and as the running the one side, the guys who was running the actual event asked us at a certain point we had to fall back so we could have a big battle in the cities section. So we had to come up with an idea why we would give up our prime location because no one had taken it. So Roman was like, well, I got gasoline and fireworks and flares.
Dang it, Roman.
Yeah, I go to bed, I wake up, Scott's like, I am done with this. And he's heading off to bed, and I return, he said, Roman's up to something. Roman was in charge for 45 minutes. Right? And I get back, and there's this big pile of sand. We got a bunker built on the top of it. There's these rockets, and he's standing there literally with gasoline, pouring it everywhere. And there's like a puddle of gasoline in this trench system. And I'm like, I haven't had much sleep. It's been like almost 40 hours now. I'm sitting on the side of the thing, and there's our buddy Johnny, who's just shaking his head. Like, we usually rely on Johnny to help us step Roman, but it's never worked that way. Yeah. Johnny's terrible. He just eggs him on. So Johnny's
pour more.
Yeah, I'm sure there's another canister over there you can probably get into, right? You know? And there's like flares flying off, parachute flares drifting all around. Jesus. And I'm just sitting, you know, on this little berm, and Roman's pouring gasoline, and there's this guy who I don't know who he is, who's been kind of following Roman around because he's in command. And I just like, Roman, we've talked about this. And the only words ever said at the top of this hill. And Roman sort of like pauses, you know, with gasoline all around him and kind of like, yeah. And the guy in the background suddenly understands that this is gasoline and there's fire and this is all going to go very bad really quickly, right?
Oh, man.
And
but immersion.
He's totally immersed, right? And so Roman's sort of like, okay, fair enough. No more gasoline. Yeah. But we're going to light this on fire. And then we're still going. He's like, all right, fair enough. So I'm walking away. Roman's now made it to the other berm, and he's firing like flare guns at this hill of gasoline.
Trying to get it to
and it goes off, and everyone at the time, people are still not getting exactly what he has done. He has lit another hill on fire already, right? But it's already more organized. It's like a trail, and he's basically come up with the idea that we have to evacuate the area because our ammo supply has been hit by a round and is all going to go off. Yeah. But in his mind, it has to go off. There's no, that's the story that we're going to tell people. No, people have to flee for their lives because there's a giant fireball on top of the hill. And he nailed it, right? Those pictures are still on our logo, right?
Yep.
Of just a big red fire with two guys walking away.
And there's also a video of it too. I think there's a drone footage for Iceback 2.0.
I'm just saying, if anyone wants the immersion, it happened.
It happened, yeah. And that's always been our general thing, was to make people feel that they're in the immersion. If there's any referees or admins, that they too are either a character or playing as UN, trying to decipher a problem, to give the excuse why they can go back and forth.
Yep.
And
you guys ran that zombie game too. That was interesting as well.
That was great. Yeah,
that was great. I don't know if you guys were there, but that was interesting.
I was not
I think this was before your guys' time, but yeah, when
there was
nothing like it.
Yeah, where there's, you have father and son teams, and then the zombie shows up, and the father gets it, but the son hasn't quite got it, so he's making noise, and the father's just like, frozen, trying to like, okay, we don't move, they won't come to us, but the kid's like pulling on, hey dad, and you can just see like, we're gonna die.
So the premise is a zombie will run at you if you're moving and making a lot of noise. So everybody just kind of pauses, and then both teams will pause because they don't want to get attacked by zombies.
Oh, that's cool. I can't wait for this coming back.
Yeah, I think that'd be a cool comeback.
And I was so surprised how people so much got into it for the entire event. Like there was one at the end where Roman, dressed as a zombie, is coming after the guys who are trying to disassemble the rocket, and one of the guys with the rocket realizes if there's a piece of metal, so he starts shooting at it, and Roman's almost on top of his guys, but starts shooting at the metal, not at Roman. And so Roman turns and starts going after the metal and understanding what the noise is, right? And so they're able to get things apart.
And you gotta understand that Roman is super freaky tall.
Yeah.
And for him to come at you as a zombie,
oh man!
And he doesn't play. He RPs, like he literally he will just RP.
He commits.
He commits for the full zombie mode.
Oh my god! Okay.
Yeah.
That
Like,
must have been fun.
I'm just getting like little flashes of the Balahack style Rev 9 kind of gameplay
Yeah.
there, because I know that that's a thing that's missing right now with people, which is the role play factor, which is what I really like about a lot of the events, is that not even having to go and just, you know, I guess at that point it's not even airsoft, it's just you're going out having fun playing sort of like a story kind of thing, and I like that aspect of stuff too. Like you don't always
you
have
get
to shoot.
shoot. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
not always the shoot. Like I mean, there's
the
been some
angry store
great
owner.
games. Yeah. There was the one where
I leave it up to their group to manage all that because it is beautifully run.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I haven't had one time where I didn't have fun in like events that you guys ran, and it's
Well, thank you.
well, other than me breaking my ankle. Let's be honest.
I was gonna be like,
but that was 30. Did the event actually start by that? I think you broke your ankle literally. We said go.
We
and
just
you
let
took
go.
2
10
steps.
seconds later, gone.
no,
Yeah. Caught on film. It was brilliant.
oh, on film
I
too.
think I broke my ankle. Click.
And ripped
Final
away
words.
home.
Yep.
Forever
Yeah.
in history.
My God.
One of the events was with the zombie that it was raining so much and there was a hill and one guy is trapped by, I think, might have been Roman again, but he's trying to crawl up. He's thrown his gun away by this time. He's crawling up the mud bank, but sliding back down with a zombie climbing up. And they're both sort of sliding down this little hill. They can't quite catch each other. And it was brilliant. Just the horror on the guy's face that he was about to be, it was every nightmare he's ever had just coming true, right?
Oh my goodness.
And then the other guy who shot the zombie turns on him, and the guy steps into a hole, but it's a grave, and the zombie falls on top of him. Purely just organically, it's just everyone slips and falls into the grave, and it's like, wow.
It is what it
you
is,
just can't
man.
like that.
Yeah. GG.
Now, a little off topic, sorry.
No, that's all
Oh,
good.
it's all right.
Yeah, we got to know Craig a little bit there. If you guys see him at the field, he has a ton of stories. I've probably airsofted with this guy for like more than for 10 years now, and it's always interesting to see him at the field. Great to see, a familiar face, especially from a long time ago, right? Like,
Yeah, sure.
it's you've seen the entire landscape change here so much, and for me as well, I've seen it change out like so many times now.
Yeah, I think Airsoft is in a really good place right now.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Which has been great. Like it's been building for so long, and now the general mood and the right people in the right places are making it, especially around here at Panther, has just been brilliant. So
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming
All
along. The reason we got you to come over here was originally to talk about our main topic, which is basically squads. Because when you're running with a team, you generally tend to run with like 2, 3, or 4 people that you know, and that makes up like a squad. Well, it's
Well,
like for that small, it's like a fire team.
It's like a
very
fire
much
team,
so,
but that's
yeah.
what
Yeah.
everyone imagines is like
Yeah.
a squad. You know,
But
your
generally,
group of
that's what people
guys.
think is a squad. You roll out at the field, then you roll out with like your tactics, your teamwork, and as well as how you guys roll and how you guys fit the role. But when you get into like big boy games at this point, like Mil Sims, then it becomes a little bit more serious. Then it becomes more of an organized squad at that point. Then you're getting people like the most thing I see whenever you're playing with squads is they don't get the training they require. It's one of those things where it's not like a written rule anywhere. It's not like something that they can just pick up right away. It's something that you would take with your 6 guys or 8 guys and go out there and train constantly, right? You have to do that. And
Yeah, exactly. And like
unit cohesion.
Well,
Yeah.
and,
It is,
and
yeah.
eventually people do specialize in like specifically with groups and stuff like that. And the training is definitely a part of that. But at the same time, like group cohesion. Yeah, that's
no, I get you.
yeah.
Well, I feel like it definitely like exactly talking about specializations and kind of like playing to your strengths and everything like that. It definitely, I feel like people are definitely drawn to each other to help pick up on their weaknesses and stuff like that, and that's a big part of it as well, choosing and, kind of surrounding yourself with the right type of people. And I mean, sometimes it's choice, sometimes, it's by accident. You meet a guy, he's great fit, bring them in. You know, I know it's been a couple of times like that for myself. I mean, that's how I kind of fell into it and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, like it's definitely you cast your net and then you find, and then from there you can specialize into like what kind of player and what kind of asset you're going to be to the fire team or to the squad or platoon.
Yeah.
Whatever
So
size.
there is a huge difference between playing lone wolf and then jack of all trades, and then actually running as a cohesive squad. Right. You guys
Exactly.
running train wreck. You guys probably have multiple people running in different, unit squads,
Well,
right?
at this point, the way it's kind of gone down with Trainwreck is it's like it's more organized, sort of like a club, and there are squads within the club.
No. I mean, as far as like when you play a regular game,
Well, yeah, no,
people tend to clump up into.
They click
people.
out into their fire
exactly.
teams.
It's what it is that they'll go into their individual squads, and you'll eventually kind of see it. Some guys have patches and stuff like that, but yeah, they naturally kind of do that. And like I feel like when you go to events and stuff like that, like their strengths and weaknesses get highlighted, in both in a positive and negative way, kind of thing, right? And not as much as someone might see if they're going solo or something like that, just because you're all trying to go towards a single purpose. And if you have a lot of weaknesses, those will get highlighted, or if you have a lot of positives and stuff like that, those will also get highlighted. And so like I feel like it's important also for squads or groups of guys to be able to go out to certain events. That way they can kind of see where they're at as well. Now, I'm not saying that they got to go to the top of the line Milsim.
No, you could start off with just a regular airsoft.
Exactly. I would say try small, do your little skirmish groups and stuff like that, and see if you guys can, make a difference on the field, or for that sort of objective and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Well, for me and the meme team, when I run with my group, it's basically just we know each other so well. It's the communication factor that kicks in, right?
100%.
So if I know what I'm talking about, I'll be like, "Hey, Dayton," he's like right over there. Point that way. And we're gonna go this way. We're gonna flank. So he already knows what we're gonna do, and he trusts us, and we're gonna go for the flank. He's just there to like deny him or prevent him moving or something like that, right? Or if it's Pat, like I'd be like, "Yo, just go for it."
Yeah. You said akimbo?
Yeah. But Craig, how does it work for you? What do you justify a squad in your group?
Yeah, what do you look for?
I mean, our setup for a squad has developed over the years. I mean, really, we used to go with, you always sort of had one guy who was a bit more vocal, who had tactics, and we would follow. It developed from that to, we came up with a system where we had 2 fire teams, basically 2 5-man teams. So we'd create a squad of 10. You'd have sort of your A and your B, and we wouldn't get locked down that your A team and your B team. It would basically, command might have been an A, but it actually meant that fire team B was actually your real strong team, because they were the ones who were going to go and do the actual fighting, where fire team or A was really going to be supporting them with command and also some X amount of rifles type of idea. But on a person by person, we found that we could, one of our skills that we developed was that you didn't always have 10 guys. You would just get thrown into, we might go to an event, we're 6, and we'd inherit 4 random guys. And we always sort of took, unless they knew each other, and say 2 of them did and 2 of them were completely strangers to each other, we would break them up into our squads and bring them in as our family, instead of like trying to, we'll take care of things, you guys stand off to the side, or you guys are fodder.
Work them in.
We bring them in,
Yeah.
man for man,
Yeah.
kind of bring them up to our tactics or standards, what we're looking for, and make sure they're in the right place and work with them. By the end of, especially in larger events where you got 48 hours to work with a guy, you'll in the first couple they're a little bit who are you? But once you sort of get past the first, actually everything you sort of said made sense. Lose X amount of equipment. This is how we move quickly. These are where you should be standing. And we would practice some really basic stuff. We would we've gone from various events where we started out as a squad. Next time we went down, and we ended up being platoon leads. And the only thing we changed is that we would just take it and break it down more, and talk to the guys about some of the very basic stuff at the very beginning. How you move as a group on a patrol, how you would move to, how do you get across a barbed wire fence? We play in a lot of places where you can't cut the fences or anything like that, but you got to still get across them, or you're doing a 2-kilometer hike, but you're allowed to go across it. So how do you get there? How do you approach that and not all die horribly caught on barbed wire and have a whole bunch of gear ripped up and stored? How do you get through quickly? We've played that style, and we'll do that in a really little basic, talk at the very beginning, and guys feel like, okay, great, I know where I stand. Because most people are all nervous when they get into these bigger events. So when we can bring them in like that, that's how we've sort of developed it. And by that, almost every time we went to an event, we take this attitude. And what we went, first time we went, we were 3 guys. Next time we were 5, 8, 10. We just keep moving up because those guys would come back and play with us because we treated them like hey, I don't know you. You might know way more than I do. I don't know what your life experiences are, but can we get together and make this happen? And having that open conversation and being happy and making sure that the most loneliest guy on your platoon, on your squad or platoon feels like he is special. You get that turnaround real quick, and people are like,
that's a far cry different from like being a lone wolf at a regular airsoft game where you just go in and shoot. It's a lot more fun when you're out there with friends, or if you have randoms that work together. I find that it's more exciting because I like working with people. I like sort of like doing chaos management, like commanding a group, right? What I find, my advice, what I find like really well is if I buddy up someone who's really new to someone who's really experienced, right, and then do the same thing for the other one, someone who's new and then someone who's experienced, then you get 2 people who are experienced, buddied up with 2 people who aren't experienced. Then the knowledge sharing is like, it's huge because you basically put the new guys to the rope with these guys that know what they're doing, and they'll inspire them to do better. I find that having buddy systems in a fire team works well because like you're basically like their responsibility buddies are basically the most experienced ones, and then they will tell them what to do. Because as someone who's like a lower, like someone who hasn't played a lot, the top guy will tell them what to do, like, you watch this sector, and then the guy who's the most experienced will give the squad leader a little bit more ease when it comes to like, when you give him commands, then he knows what to do from there, and then he'll just tag along his new guy. And that's a great leadership right there, because
the buddy system has been beneficial. Like right off the start, and I should have mentioned that was one of our very first things to do is, who's on the team, get to know each other, get your names out loud. Who's your buddy, your friend, whatever, and who's going to be your battle buddy for this event type of idea. You guys are locked at the hip. When I say go left, the 2 of you guys are going to go left, unless there's some exception to that.
Exactly.
And suddenly, okay, everyone knows where they stand in the thing, and they feel like, okay, it's our combined effort, and it's not any one guy; it's the group.
Exactly, and that honestly, I feel like is a whole nother dynamic to the style of play and everything, and adds to just such a much more rich feeling and just like a feeling from the gameplay and stuff like that, especially the teamwork aspect, when things go working well and things go off without a hitch, and then even back to the other side when things don't go right.
You're horribly wrong.
Yeah, when you thought everything was okay. Exactly.
You're sharing it with the other guy.
Well, exactly.
Exactly.
You got to embrace the suck, boys. You got to embrace the suck.
And that's
North and West, one of the last ones we did, and the constant was war is ruck. And it was like, yeah, fair enough, guys. We kept getting told that by the Army guys as they sent us to the furthest side of the field with all our kit. And it was like, yeah, but we were behind the enemy, and when they tried to break out, they did not see us there, and we had one of the greatest victories of the entire event.
I think we ran into you after that.
After that? Yes.
This last Milsom West there, you were coming back, we were leaving after we went up and made that last, are you talking the last day? Or?
No, this was the day before.
Okay.
We had,
because I remember you had gotten sent out to the fringe, and we had just passed each other at the end of the event. We hadn't seen each other the entire event, but we all saw each other in passing, and it was like, I wanted to shoot Merlin.
We had we'd gone out the night before, and there was a bit of griping, and unfortunately, we were some of the griping went back and forth between two of our guys, and the mic was open, so we went over command channel, and so someone came by and said, "Hey guys, you open mic there." Excuse the language, you might have to bleep that out. So surprisingly, we got sent to the furthest side of the field, across the biggest, open, sunniest part of the field.
I was just going to say, I heard a rumor that it was punishment.
Yeah, 6 hours of being on the wrong side. But in that, we were an undersized platoon. The NATO force started, after fighting the other side, decided to probe out. And we got a little bit on the board side. We had spotters. We had our guys set up.
LPOPs,
Yeah, all set up. And then we were like, okay, look, the next time a couple of NATO guys poke their heads over that hill, they poke their heads with 2 guys, we'll poke ours with 4. And we'll just play that game. So first, literally 30 seconds into this plan, someone goes, hey, there's 4 NATO. Okay, we'll take 8. By the time we get out there, it turns out to be 16 NATO. And then by the time we actually go, okay, well, we'll set up in a line. We'll be really aggressive looking, and it's like we're going to make a big stand. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, it's 32. And they got a Humvee with 5 guys in it.
Oh, yeah, the British guys.
They started actually coming at us, and we're like, okay, run for your lives, boys.
They have a technical.
So we basically bolted back, and I'm running a little slower to keep everybody ahead of me, and they have to go around this long fence. So I know they're not going to cut across and beat me, but they come in with the Humvee, they fire at our OP up front, we get a little spotter unit, and then they swing in, and all their guys pile in, and they end up getting caught in this 2 fence with a gate, and their Humvee comes into the gate, and we open up on the driver, and he's dead, so it's now locked down. And then we hit the heavy gunner and pin the guys, and all their men start piling in behind the Humvee. But our angle, we're actually lower than them, so we're shooting underneath the Humvee, and there's just a body stack. That's one guy I must have shot, and I apologized to. I said, I'm sorry whoever I shot like 30 odd times, but it was 30 different attempts to shoot different people, right? But you were just that guy.
The one guy.
You were just the guy they were using as a sandbag.
Yeah. It happens, boys. It happens.
And we got lucky. Our guys are left. We had one squad in this kind of around this entrance. Our second squad dropped down and behind, came up on the left. The other one went on the right. We totally surrounded them, cut them off, killed them to a man, got to search everybody, including the Jeep, and it was the first time they got taken down. And so we, as an undersized militia Russian force, we took out the best of the NATO force, full squad with armor, and and I was like, we were knackered. We were out of ammo. We were out of water.
Oh, man.
Only what we stole off them that we were able to replenish ourselves.
Of course.
And we had to actually fall back, and then we had to, I had to go back with 2 other guys, and we left our guns on the front line because we were now down guns. Mm-hmm. And we just ran back to get more water because we had no water, physically to drink. And we'd been out so long in the sun dying, and then everyone was saying, oh yeah, we heard that the Russian unit got wiped out. And it's like, no, that's not what happened. That's a totally different story.
It was the other way around,
Yeah, it was one of the best movements. And then, of course, the very next day, you guys rolled over us 3 times. It totally spanked us.
The entire NATO faction.
To be fair to you guys there, that year there was quite an offset.
I think it was 3-to-1 odds.
It was something like 3 or 4-to-1 for NATO to Russian.
Well, we were defending Gate 7 for that particular thing, and then they moved us back into Gate 3 and 4, and we set up our usual, all we could manage to do tricks on this thing, and then we were like, all we can do, if we can trick them into believing that Gate 4 is well defended and they should go to 3, we can catch the Humvee on its side, and maybe we can knock it out, and we can maybe whittle them down. But when you guys came over the hill, and there was only maybe 20 of us. And it was like, man, that's what 100 guys looks like. And they on the high ground, and the wind was behind you guys.
You got 2 platoons. You got 2 platoons on you.
It was great. I have a bunch of photos from because we were near the rear, and just to see an endless line of guys all marching onto
Yeah, just,
the
and it was like there was nothing. Just you could hear the rumble of the Humvee coming up, and then suddenly one head, two head. Holy cow! And it was just they just kept coming and coming, and it was like, yeah, we're in such a bad. And they're all plans that we had to knock out the Jeep and everything. It was like, okay, we should be able to hold this position for 2 hours, maybe, and that the idea was that our Russian forces would on the other side would relieve us. We were just supposed to hold as long as we could, and it was like, okay, we're about 45 seconds into this, and we are knackered.
We are gonna get overrun here.
Yeah, we're totally. It's just a mess. Everything's going sideways. We fled off. We were able to get the high ground and do a fall back slowly on one side. And we fell back, which we were supposed to just, till the Russians came up and supported us. But we ended up falling all the way back to the Russians. In fact, we were defending the back of the side of the Russians. And in fact, I died next to the Russian commander as I had mediced him like 3 times already, right? Because I was the medic. But yeah, it was
Wow, sounds like Russia and the Russian forces and militia had a bad time.
That particular.
It was a numbers year. Yeah.
It was,
definitely not
It was
on their
great.
side.
Like, I mean, it was
great fun.
absolutely amazing. Like, I mean, nothing better. Like, when we wiped out that platoon, and they were like, "Oh man," they were like, "That was brilliant. You guys totally had us in a trap. Well played." They had a drone out, but we were all in the trees, so they could only see our few guys. So they only thought we were maybe 10 guys when they came at us. Only to find out that and it had worked out the trap, and we surrounded them, wiped them all out. They were so like, "Wow, well done. That was impressive. Like, you totally suckered us in." We were like, "Oh yeah, totally." All part of the panic intensifies. Right? And it was like, then quickly Scott's rummaging through all the gear so we can try to track down some ammo because we have nothing.
Right.
And we're convincing them that half our guns are unloaded, but they don't know that. And we're saying, "Okay, if you're dead, pop your mag because we don't want to overshoot you guys. If somebody acts a little thing, we're going to search you," and we're trying to hold them up as long as we can so we can recover because we're all exhausted, right? We're just trying to hold them there as long because they're like, "Oh, we're going to go back. We're going to search you first. You're dead. You're a thing." And
there's a process here, boys.
It's a long walk to the other side.
Yeah, and then after we get the Jeep and everything all sorted out, I walk them back to our line and then release them back into the wild. And, and they're all like, "Oh, very thank you." But actually, we're trying to buy enough time from our guys to scrounge up enough gear so we can reset the line because they're coming back.
As soon as they get to that
really
CCP,
angry.
they're coming back. Like, hey, there's a small Russian platoon over there.
Militia.
Yeah, just militia.
Oh my God. Yeah, that sounds like a great time. Like, yeah, I've definitely had my fair share of like really great moments with my brother and stuff, playing down at the Milsom West events and just like the camaraderie and the things going wrong.
Oh, totally. Those are the best. Like, you find out all your buddies, like, everyone's, "Oh yeah, I'm the man, I got your back." And somewhere around 24 hours, people's attitude or even their weaknesses start to show up. Like, everybody has this breaking point where you just haven't had enough food or enough water or enough sleep.
Or it's too
or
wet.
everything hurts, right?
Yeah.
And then you find it, okay, yeah, so, my buddy, great guy, but at 24 hours, we need to get him some gummy bears. He's going to need a little love and a hug because he's going to get a little upset there. And once we get him back on track, you work around the thing, and everybody has that moment. Scott will look at me, and my eyes are like sunk into my head because I haven't, I've been up so long. And he's like, "Okay, so
Time for some sleep."
Here's some sleep, and here's some Thai pats, noodles, right?
exactly.
He'll make me a meal, and he'll feed it to me. You sit over here for a while.
That's
And
the dynamic
thing,
of being
right?
part of a really good squad, team, fire team, however you make it up, really,
Yeah,
right?
and
just
it's
being
the
able to-
buddy. It's taking care of your guys and going around and making sure everyone's safe and happy. And what's your, we always do this thing. What's your happy score type of idea? Like, we do this one where, okay, what's your, we'll yell out in the middle of a battle, what's your percentage? And it's, what's your ammo? But at the same time, what is your physical ability at this point? So it's a little bit of combined,
What is your mental state?
What is your mental state?
at about
right now?
10% right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
When you
Suck
get
it up.
Yeah, exactly. You still got 8 to give.
Yeah, exactly.
Still got 10%. Suck it up.
And someone throws a
You can
mag
keep
at
the
you,
last
and you just,
two for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And there was another one is this, when you get a squad together, if you can double up on your gear, Like that was one of the big things for us. Like we'd go and we'd cut our gear in half by not everybody having a first aid kit, not everybody having a jet boil, not everybody carrying, the repair kits for 12 guys, because every one of us, we all do the same thing. Like, oh, what happens if this happens? At some point, you kind of have to say, okay, we don't need that 50 pounds worth of unnecessary gear. Take one part of it, my part, and then everybody else gets another.
You have to start you have to start doing that risk assessment of your gear and stuff like that. I've definitely, like, going to my events, have kind of cut myself down an extra 50 pounds of gear.
From the first event we went to,
you're relying on the rest of your squad to sort of carry with you,
percentage of the duty, right? And that's the buddy build, that's the team play. I mean, I always I spent 30 odd years playing soccer. My father was a professional soccer player, so I had to go that way. I was not a good soccer player. It was not my skill set, but I was vocal enough, and I knew what the game was. So if Craig goes running off to the left side, yelling for the ball, I know I'm not going to get the ball, but the other team doesn't know that. So they'll shift 3 or 4 players to cover my move, which relieves the pressure from the guy I know who's got the ability to score.
We call that the trickster.
And if I can take the pressure off that guy by making my run, that's part of the team. He gets the goal. I get but if he's worth the pinch of salt, he's going to run over and give me the high five, because that's the aid. And that's what you're looking for. You don't have to win the game, but if you're part of that win, that's a totally different thing. And Airsoft, that you can, every time you can make that happen. It's, you've got your guys back. There's nothing better than being stuck in a small hole, tossing mags back and forth. One gun's down. I've been in situations where we've had, one guy with a gun, the other guy is got no boots, half his uniform's off because he's been caught in an assault, and he's throwing hand grenades. I'm firing with a rifle. We got one AK between 2 guys, and we hold off a whole platoon. But of course they wipe us out. But by the time they get up there, they're like, "What the happened?
just 2 of you.
There's only 2 of you in the
There's just 2
foxhole.
idiots."
Where's the rest of the platoon?
Yeah, I thought this was a company.
And it's
And that's the great thing about your buddy system, and as well as relying on your teammates, right? That's pretty much it. Like, you know each other so well that you don't even have to be at the front line. You could be the guy that supports at the back,
And that was
running
it.
ammo and stuff, right?
Oh, exactly. I mean, there's nothing better than, I've played medic so many times, and running up or crawling up or having guys bring back, the dead so you can get them back up, or getting up and getting your guys back up when they've been, knackered or whatever, and just having a good sense of humor about it, simply, call me, take 2 aspirins and call me in the morning type of idea as you bring them back up, and they have a good chuckle. And you're keeping your team in play for potentially 2 or 3 times longer than they would be by themselves. I mean, the medic is a major important character inside a squad, a platoon, anything, right?
Speaking of medic, squad roles, how important is that in a squad, or
The medic?
Well, just the medic.
Just all the roles.
Let's just start off with like a base
Yeah.
rifleman. That everyone starts off as a rifleman.
Everyone's
You're
a
basically just a grunt there, pushing the enemy back. You're firing back, and you're listening to, next in line, which is basically like your fire team leader. Now he's responsible for keeping 3 or 4 or 5 guys corralled together, to push an enemy.
Yeah.
And then after that, it would be like your squad leader, which then is in charge of 2 or 3 fire teams. How important is it for a squad to have such roles?
Very important. I think that's what made us one of the better teams, was that we had guys who were designated for heavy guns, who were going to use the heavy gun as it's supposed to be used, as a support, not to lead the charge.
Yeah.
So that your rifleman can cover him, and then they can move, because they're the ones. It's the lonely rifleman who's the guy who's going to be the one who ends up breaking through. It's the guy with the heavy gun. If he's out front, he's done something terribly wrong.
That or the riflemen are
Yeah,
slow.
exactly. Or he
Something's
needs to
going
get a
wrong.
rifleman who are faster. And then again with the medic, he keeps that line moving forward. And not having your medic run forward and get shot is a whole nother game changer too.
Yeah.
And we always played in our way, was everyone's a rifleman type of idea, including our medic. You're going to be fighting and firing. but we're not going to put you at point when we go for a patrol, right?
100%.
That's going to be a different thing. So there's different guys, who have navigational skills, who other guys who are, command that are in contact with the bigger picture outside.
Your RTOs, yeah.
And they're able to sort of keep that going, so you don't have to worry about what's going on. So the guys in front, the guys who are doing are your reconnaissance and pushing forward, or your lead point and not making that happen. They don't have to worry about the bigger game part. They can be focused on what's in front of them and the various techniques to get us from A to B.
Play to their strengths.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
Very much so.
utilizing your
Yeah.
tools and the assets that
And
you have.
as far as roles, learning their responsibilities as a rifleman, you're basically just taking care of what's in front of you. What's you're not having to deal with command. You're not having to deal with logistics and all that fun jazz. As you move up the hierarchy, then you get fire team leader that has to deal with your ammunition counts, your your medical water, as well as taking care of his micromanaging his small guys. You're talking about how is your mental state? You're at that 10%.
Yeah.
You
either laugh it off or you're like, oh, is this serious?
Exactly.
And then you basically echo that to your squad leader at that point and be like, hey, our guys are running out of ammo. At least the squad leader would get some sort of situational awareness of what the state of his fire teams are and his squad is, so that he could either pull them back to get regen or resupplied, or is he able to still push forward. So how having roles and responsibilities for each role is very important.
Oh, very much. We went out another Milsom West event where we first night we were sent out on a patrol. I think you guys had landed in the field.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
So you were there for Operation Ruck Muck.
Yeah.
Is that
So
where you
we
guys
were,
airborne in?
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
God.
that was.
so you guys were supposed to get to water stash that was in one of the barns on the hill.
Yeah, we were
So
supposed to get to our base.
to our
Yeah.
well, it was our rally point.
Yeah.
Rally point. So
Yeah.
we got to the road section, cross section, just before your guys started showing up. And we had Legion and we had Bryce as the two teams. And so I was in command on this patrol. And so Legion did exactly what they were, noisy, got the heavy gun, you got Roman screaming and yelling like he's
Of course.
300 guys, right, on the top of a hill, making different voices and different noises. He's yelling to units that don't exist. He's doing all sorts of stuff, right?
Sounds like him.
It sounds like Roman was the one in the field then.
And then Royce had slipped down. We had 3 sets of nods between 14 guys.
I did see the IR.
We saw you guys and.
We were not believed.
Well, so here's the funny situation from our end is that it wouldn't have happened if they had listened to us. But the entire time, all our commanding guys decided to completely ignore us. We were telling them we can literally see the IR lights. We can see the hue. They're looking at us like, what are we doing? And then
There
they
are
were like,
people up there.
and they were like, no, we got to get to the barn. And so that's where we proceeded to go out. And then you guys had the rest of the
Well,
story
they made
from
us
there.
fan out,
Yeah.
right? So they made us fan out into a line formation. So it's
In
like,
the middle
what?
of the open field.
At
While
night.
we all have our rucks on still. So it was like, why are we going to engage? Like,
Yeah.
what?
We-
Walk
and you-
straight to you.
Yeah.
And then we start dropping like flies. And it was like, wow.
And you guys had the forest because if I
There was
remember,
some
it was
shrubs,
like that.
small shrubberies
Yeah,
at
it
the
was
top
like
of the
a
hill,
crest where it was, and I just remember when we got in the middle. And it had to have been Roman who said it. He broke the silence, and then all I see is all these lasers on us. And
Yeah,
oh man,
With BBs
It was
flying.
it was so brilliant because Rice had quietly just dropped down to the left on the roadside and taken sort of an L position, and they
You
stayed
got the L
quiet.
ambush.
Oh, dude,
totally,
we got
yeah.
corralled.
And just
Corralled,
they
man.
came
It
up
was
the
so
hill
bad.
in the first wave.
Yeah.
And it was a good hard battle. We pushed up, and then Rice just opened up from the side and just took out the
It
whole
was
batch of
so
them.
bad
And
'cause
then
we
it
were saying
happened a
they're in
second and a
there.
third time. And then at the same time, we didn't know, but there was a Russian unit coming up behind us. And we were like, okay, we'd just beaten off you guys for one side. We're all kind of spinning because we're not sure who these guys, because we're just footprints, rushing towards us. We figured out they're Russians. So they were actually tasked to go to the barn and get the water and capture it. We were purely by chance. So we have a second battle at the top of them with the Russians now And
That's
you
when the
guys come
blank
in a
fire
second
happened,
time.
right?
The second time, yeah, blank fire showed up.
I remember that. Yeah.
And then they move on. And accidentally by that, we had this one guy, we called him I can't say what it is. A chef for...
A sous chef?
Oh, sous
Thank
chef.
you, sous chef. The sous chef. He's a real tall guy, and that was his job. And in real life, and in the mix, he goes with the Russians. So we lose one of our guys to this other group that goes there because everyone just splits. It's total chaos. Another group of NATO come up. Same thing happens again, and then finally you guys get involved, but you guys cross the fence and come up through the open.
Yes,
And then-
we did, yeah.
And at that point, we still got 2 sets of nods left, and I'd moved one nod to each end, and the guy's just yelling back to me what's happening, and then the guys, we've been able to fall back into a line. Rice takes this perfect line. Legion passes behind them, stops, and then Rice rolls out behind them again, and we fade off over the hill. And we get over there after, this is like 3 battles in now, and we get over there, and it's like, okay, that's great. Another Russian unit comes up through, gets decimated by you guys at the top of the hill.
yeah.
Because
And-
that's when we corralled everyone.
Well,
and we
that's when we
started
finally
realizing,
rallied.
Yeah, we
Realizing what was
realized
going
what was
on.
happening, and it was good. That was a good like 4 or 5 hours.
It was,
It was a
long
5-hour battle.
Yeah, it
wow.
went on and on.
Yeah.
And we basically, we were really lucky. We had, we were given this chap who was a Green Beret. And he was brilliant. He was one of the, like, he had a heavy gun, but he didn't try to tell you how to do your stuff. He was like, oh, you guys seem competent. I will go with you until you go off the rails and keep you online. And all the way through, he just played with inside our group, worked out really well. And then we fell away, and after the 3rd battle, and we were like, hey, did a quick, check. And it was like, oh, I'm down to, 40%. Grab him a couple mags, okay, you're up to 60. We did this balance of what we had, and we're like, okay, we're back, and we're still at 60% here. Let's go for a second kick at the bucket, right?
Let's dive in
So we
again.
come back in, and that's when the Russian unit is being destroyed by you guys. We sweep in, we're able to get most of them up, push you guys back long enough. We get one of our guys lost, or gets shot forward. But our guys immediately, and this is where guys, when they know each other, and they're thinking and they're working. When we fire, we turn all our lights on. But as we had one guy forward, we broke into two units, turned our lights on, left a black spot where our down guy was, engaged you guys while our medic shot up, grabbed him, and brought him back. Because there was a point where he's dead, we're going to leave him. No, we're going to get our man.
5 minutes.
And we got our guy, and then we all fell back. Now, every one of our guys throughout that unit, every one of us we used up all our medic, water. Everyone had gotten shot. Everybody had to tourniquet on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we got away barely from you guys. It wasn't a great victory. Everybody was bleeding. And then we dashed through some fence lines.
Mind you, the colors were a lot worse on our side.
But again, it was one of those, it just happened. Everyone gelled. Everyone went and did the right thing. And then all the talents of the team came out. And everyone just, okay, this is a trap. We're going to catch these guys. Rice is swung into the perfect position. There was no, hey, this is what we should do. Everyone just saw the situation. All right, I'm going to stand center. You guys are just going to go either side of me. And it played out beautifully. Yeah.
It definitely, like, when you hear both sides of the story, was just so funny. Like, the last words we hear are, look for the green buzzsaw. And sometimes you get fed wrong information. Anyways, drop.
No. Okay, so the jump master, benefit to this guy too. He's a real jump master, Milsom West Cadre. Really big kudos to those guys for running just such a great, right? So they had the airplane noises going on in the back so you can't hear.
Yeah.
Right? They got the red and green light ready to go. They got the static line here, and they're explaining to you about how you're going to jump out, simulated drop. Very fun, right?
Yep.
But so basically what my brother's saying is, we're coming up. He's telling us, okay, you got 1 minute to the drop zone. Everybody's up. We're breaking down, how we're going to get out of this and everything. And he basically tells us our rally point. Okay, you guys are going to look for a green buzzsaw. It's going to be a glow stick that's just spinning around. You guys are all rallying there. And then from there, you are going to move out to your objectives, to individual objectives and everything like that. So as Tak's saying, so he's saying this all to us calmly and everything. And we were chalk 4 of, I think, 6. So we were in the middle, but not in the beginning, but not at the end there either, because command was in the back, in the end, in the last chalk. So we jumped in there, But like Tack's saying, so the jump master is giving us this great rundown. The speakers in the U-Haul are going, so you can't really hear anything. And you're like, okay, I think 30 seconds, oh God, we're going to jump. And then like he's saying, I was standing in the front with my brother there. He goes, so, you know,
He opens the door, remember?
Rally. He opens the door and he goes, hey, so just remember, sometimes you guys get dropped in the wrong drop zone. Green light, go, go, go. It's like, wait, what? And we all just hit the pitch black.
Yeah.
And that was our first year at Milsom West. They're down at Centerville. So we had no idea of the AO, the vastness of the, you know, it's 3,300 acres. You know, it's huge.
It's fun.
And you can hide 500 people there, like no problem. And so we were all jumping out. Finally, we all kind of organize ourselves, and okay, we kind of get a bearing, and it's like head that way, okay, right? So we all start heading out, and it's
Where's your compass?
yeah, right. I know. Don't worry. Okay, the people who were in charge that year,
They knew what they were doing, apparently.
Yeah.
It was fun, though.
Yeah,
I had
it
a
was
lot of
great.
fun.
No, it was great.
But on the packing list, you need a compass.
Yeah, thank you. I know. I had mine, but I was not in command.
Like
One
we
of those
said,
useless things,
like
you
we
know?
said, we were telling them, they were like we're gonna go this way. As I'm looking in the background, going like, okay, there's stuff
Well, so
happening
we
over there.
had-
No, it's fine. We gotta go that
so
way.
we had a nods guy, one nod out of I think around 20 guys, right? So
Confirming,
when
oh yeah,
we
there's
were,
IR
when
over
we
there.
were coming up to that gully there, right before we engaged it, right? Because I think we were part of that like third NATO wave or whatever. So we had no communication, didn't know we were walking into like, you know, a kill zone or anything like that. But our one nod guy is just going, I think I see IR lights. Hey guys? Hey guys, does anyone see this? No one else sees this. You're the only one, right? But you know, there is still sometimes you can see that purple hue with the IR light and everything like that. So some of us start saying like, "Holy crap! Yeah, no, dude, that's IR." Should we be walking towards that? Like you know, like, I really don't think this is a good idea. Like, no, man. We're all moving to the rally point. Those got to be friendlies up there. You know, like everything's cool here.
Man.
And then it's like,
Who
okay.
was in charge at that point?
Well, okay, so for us, we our platoon leader.
No, for when you guys drop.
Well, yeah. So our platoon leader was brand new. He kind of got picked up right on the spot, kind of thing. And then from there, we had a former teammate leading us for that event and stuff like that. And so I would say the command structure was pretty green in the sense for
Very
us,
green.
for
It
at
was
least for
very
our chalk in that sense. It went exactly as it was gonna go, and
disaster.
We call it ruck muck for a reason, right? It was so bad because I remember cresting over and we're just calling it out. Like there is IR and we are walking into it. Okay, everyone, line formation. What did we just say? What did we just? So now we're gonna spread out. And so we're walking directly towards you guys, and we know it's coming. And then the next thing you know, I just start hearing the Russian like you know, kill words or whatever, right? Where they just start shooting at you and like,
dude, it was brutal.
Ragubi or something. I don't know. Right. So all of a sudden, my guys start just dropping like flies next to me.
everyone's got their rucks on, going like, "Ah!"
right? And everybody just hits the ground. So some people are saying, "Hey, I'm hit. I'm not allowed to move." Some guys are like, "I'm out of here." And I was one of those guys. I reverse crawled the fastest I think humanly possible with my ruck on my back still, and so I was so scared that year because I wasn't wearing contacts yet, right? So I didn't have my glasses. I didn't have contacts. I'm in the pitch black. I don't know anyone. I've lost all my friends, everything like that. I hid in a tree well. Yeah, I dove into a tree well, and I didn't know who was around me. There was people screaming. There's people dying. There's blank fire
going on,
shot.
and the lights are now going on and off.
Tracers and gun lights, and I threw my ruck under a tree, and I got right behind my ruck like a sandbag, and I was just like, I'm gonna stay here until I see some friendlies, and that's gonna be about 5-6 hours. So it's gonna be a long night. Luckily for me, because I lost my brother. I did not see my brother for about 5-6 hours that night after jumping out.
Dude, it was intense.
And the only reason I ended up making it back to the new rally point, because after you guys had gotten to that spot, we obviously the whole NATO thing just kind of blew up, and it was like, okay, where do we meet, right? Like, So the only reason I made it to the rally spot where I found my brother was because I had 2 bodies that just came running by my tree well where I was, and I did not know who they were, so it was better to shoot and say sorry than it was to get found out or anything like that. So I shot them, and all I did, they called their hits. All I did was, please tell me you're Russian. And my friend Toast, one of my teammates too, he just recognized my voice right away and everything, and he goes, God damn it, Mac! Like, and I'm like, oh my God, that's my friend. So I just jump out of the tree well, I run over, I medic them, and I'm so sorry, guys. And they're like, hey, you know, you're with us now. Let's go. We got a new rally point. Boom. We went and we all left our rucksacks. So that entire opening field had about maybe 40 rucksacks that we all had to go and get the next morning. So we're all standing at our bases with nothing.
You had a pretty epic experience then for Milsom West.
That was my first.
Yeah,
yes, that was my first.
Everyone gets like that experience, right?
Well, not everyone does, you know, because
no. I mean,
but
that's what you want to strive for.
That's like a nice airborne experience.
100%.
That
was
pretty much
definitely.
like lost, scattered. You got to regroup together.
The guy saying to me, because me and Tak were about third from the door, right? So the guy was
I
right
had
at the
time
door.
to process
Yeah,
by the
and
time
when
I got
he
there.
turned around with the door open and said, sometimes you drop in the wrong drop zone, my
That hit
brother
me.
and I
That
looked at
hit
each
me
other,
hard,
and it was
man.
like the green light came on, and there was no thinking. It was just go, and like we just went into the black.
It was literally into the black.
Yeah. Well, we next night, same event, Russians they dropped us in
When you guys had moved over to the other side of the AO,
And this is where, you know, getting your stuff together and being an organized squad. We were militia 3, so like usually you're kicked to the back and the last people for anybody to add advice. But we were well organized. All our guys are set to go, and I think it was militia 1 or even Russian Reg Force. They weren't ready to go. They were half in the planes and half out, and they were so disorganized that funny enough, the Green Beret guy turns to Scott and goes, "Are your guys ready?" "Yeah, we're all lined up here." "Okay, militia 2, get out of the truck," and push them out. We get in, so we're the first drops. Far side, we drop, everything goes okay. Second wave comes in, they all fall out. You know, it's like militia 2, which were, you know, mucking around and being, you know, all disorganized, they get dropped third. By this time, we can see what's coming down the hill, and what it was oh my God, he was one of our guys up north. He was I forgot his name. He was playing on the NATO side that year, and he had night vision, and he'd seen the first 2 drops. So when the third drop came down, they were basically waiting on the field. So the door goes out, the guy stepped out, and they all just get lit up by like 3 guys.
Oof.
Everybody in the third drop dies, which would have been us.
Yeah.
But because we were fast and ready to go,
exactly.
we were on the first drop, so the first drop guys got destroyed as they were too slow. And
I got to be a part of that. I got to
That
dish
was
out
great.
the revenge of the
Was
first
that-
night.
was that-
Yeah, it
yeah.
was a lot of fun. I won't lie.
Who was running that? Who came down? I forgot his name.
I can't remember the guy who was leading that just because it was really dark and everything.
okay.
So it was just
It's from up north. We all have played
Brooke.
with Brooke.
Brooke
Okay.
Reimer.
Oh,
Yeah.
Brooke Reimer, the
Yeah,
blue
yeah.
commander from Crossfire 1.
Exactly, yeah. Brooke, he ran that.
That was a lot of
That
fun.
was, we just saw it coming down the hill, and Scott had the nods on. He was just watching from about 150 yards away, going, "Ah, damn!" just the bodies came out, the IR lights came on, and there was just
chaos.
chaos, and everyone was just dead, and they were screaming and yelling. Literally, the truck stopped. They all got back into the truck and they drove them to the other side.
The plane has been down.
Yeah. Everyone's dead. Yeah.
Wow. We went really off tangent.
Yeah, sorry.
It wasn't off tangent.
Yeah,
we were
skirting
discussing
the
how
edges.
effective squads are in a Milsom
I
event.
tried to bring it back
Exactly.
with that
Yeah,
whole
we were talking about
organizational
our-
thing at the end there.
It's all good. Don't
all
worry.
good, don't worry.
That's what Milsom West does to us.
So I guess just to kind of bring us back here, for your guys, because I know you guys play both on NATO and Rust 4, and as well as
Back and forth,
back and forth with a lot of factions. Do you guys have some sort of like standardized gear set? Like, do you have like a bare minimum that everyone needs to attain, or is it more like you guys kind of get what works for you and then kind of incorporate it into your guys' play style?
Because we come from here, we picked a particular, when we were at the Marauders, it was CAD-PAD that we were all using, and that was our basic uniform.
What about in
layout.
terms of like gear? Yes, but in terms of like your platforms, like is everybody using the same like Stanag magazines and AK magazines?
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
We tried.
So you
we
could
tried to keep everybody on the same thing. It was a lot of debate. It's always a funny thing because everyone's got a million,
It's Airsoft. You got to
so
be unique.
everyone
Six of
has
one,
what they
half a
like.
dozen
Right,
of the other.
exactly.
But
Some
as
people
long
go
as you
for
can-
individuality. Some people go for
Exactly.
uniformity. And exactly. So then, what was your guys'
We were
kind of thing?
for the,
like?
we were all running as for the best part of it. We were all trying to run as close as we could, but there was a good variety throughout because everybody likes having their own stuff. But yeah, we always played that one thing where we would always. As many of us could run where we had the same mags, because one of the most important thing is you will find that moment where, I was at the back doing a bit more commanding or just in a position where I didn't get as much fire, so I still have 80% of my ammo, and the guy beside me is down to like 10%. And if I can, just give him my 3 mags, and I've had this happen over and over and over again where. We're in a battle, whatever, random guy's like, I'm out. And it's like, no, dude, you're still in because you're a set of eyes and you can call out the enemy and you can keep talking. They don't know you're out of ammo. And at the same time, here's a couple of my mags. And guys are always like, what, you're giving me your mags? And it's like, absolutely, you're on my team.
Like, I hope he'd come
guys
find
are-
me later.
Yeah. But every time,
Yeah.
those guys like
it's a good
search
moral-
high and
yeah.
low to find that guy who randomly gave him a mag at the same, and it's paid back on me. Like I've done that so many times that I can walk onto the field and I'm just playing in the background because I didn't plan on playing, but I'll be an observer and help the guys. And I push up a little too far, and some guy will just turn to me, pull his pistol, hand it to me, and there's no
Even
I
question
know
about
you're
it,
gonna,
exactly.
Yeah,
Here's a
exactly.
pistol,
Like
here's
here.
your mag, see you later.
Like I need you to have a set of eyes
exactly.
on and the capability of
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
It's also I've seen it as a good morale booster too. I know that a lot of guys like when they come ill prepped and stuff like that, when they come up to a lot of the hardships, with events or even just certain games and stuff like that, like specifically, kind of not talking about events, but let's say per se like skirmishes on the weekend, right? Let's say you have a buddy who only carries 4 magazines or something like that, but you're the type of person who wants to carry 10, but then you playing a long game, let's say at Panther, you're doing like an attack and defend or something like that. Now your buddy just went through all 4 mags. Well, his only option at that point would be to walk off, typically in a skirmish game, or by you giving him some of your mags,
He's still a body in there. Yeah, cut your ammo, cut your fire down to what you need to do, but you're still a man.
enemy.
Yeah, exactly.
Be like Roman.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There
Yeah.
are just 300 of us.
Give up now.
like what was that Byzantine Empire style thing or whatever it is? Like the one where they were all on top of the ridge with the clay pots or whatever it is, making themselves look like there was more of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We were always played that way.
Yeah.
That coming out of paintball, which was very noisy, so we had to.
A rowdy bunch.
Yeah, we had to be louder than all the gunfire, and we put out a lot of gunfire. So we had to be on top, and we had a couple of guys, Zach, who, when he starts yelling, he just gets excited, and it's so loud, and it's just intimidating to the other team. Like, there's a lot of them coming at it. There is, but they're really noisy and loud, and they're just engaged in their game, and they're just calling out your position. And the intimidation of some guy, you got yourself in a great position to take out something, and some guy calls out your position, and you now know that there's 3 guns now pointing at you,
start
and they're
Not
working
only
the
is that,
angles on
not
you.
only that is that
There's
intimidation. That's also like teamwork. You're
Exactly.
calling it out
Yeah.
for your team. Yeah.
I mean, the best thing is I learned this in playing sports. Like soccer field should never be quiet. It's a noisy place. You've got 22 people out there. Everyone should be talking because the guy with the ball. There's only one ball. Everybody else in the team should be telling each other what's happening or how to cut that down. And it's the same thing in airsoft. Like, there's a
Communication is
guy
key.
here. There's a guy there. We're going to lock these guys down. We're going to bunker them. We're going to hold them down so other guys can flank them. Everyone's job, shoot and move. Use the trees. Use what you got around you. Keep that whole thing going, right?
If you just keep that communication going, you get the huge situational awareness going for your squad alone.
Yeah, like I don't have
that's
to,
already an advantage.
I don't have to see all 10 of them. I know there's 10 of them out there, and I know 9 of them are pinned, and there's one more, and he's off to this side. Now that's my job. I can deal with him and get him pinned, or I can, aid my guys in getting rid of the other 9 or 8 or cut them down
And
by X amount of
as your
numbers.
role as a leader, you start to hear these things, and then you start to formulate a plan.
Oh, totally, yeah. Yeah, we understand that, okay, here's a choke point, and they think they got us here. How do we get around this choke point? Do we push up the middle, or do we just try to draw them, or we try to draw them out of the choke point?
Yeah.
Like,
Make them think
we
they can
can't,
push
and
you.
we fall back, and they
They're more
go on,
vulnerable
and
when
they
they
go on
push up.
attack.
Yeah.
And once they give up their cover and they move to us. When I used to play as Marauders, my job was basically getting our squads through, big fields and all sorts of things. But my main job was I'd be reading the map. I'd be the guy with the compass. This is where we're going. But I'd be at point. I'd spot an enemy or they'd open up on me. My job was to throw my dumb ass to the ground as fast as possible. Because behind me I had 2 guys who were going to light up that spot. Because they knew as soon as they saw me go down, they're just going to start firing at the thing. And at the same time, they're going to fire forward, they're going to break off left and right, and the 5-man fire team that can do 32 balls per second is going to open up on that area. And it's all flying over my head. So all I got to do is stay close to the ground. That guy is not returning fire at me. He is hiding for his life. Yeah. And then by the time that lets up, those 2 guys are around him and have taken him out. And then if I'm lucky, I crawl back, or I just stay there. I did the least amount of shooting.
That's pretty good
But that was my
though.
job. That was my job. Like, I can throw myself to the ground faster than you can shoot me. That was literally my skill set. Right?
You don't have to be the guy
Let me
that
check
throws.
your map reading resume.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
don't have to be the guy that throws the first shots.
I can get to the ground faster than that round can come over my head.
You're doing your job. You're doing your part in the squad at that point.
Yeah. And the guys behind me were
Would you
just
like to
wiping
know
that
more?
out, right? And that was part of it. That's the team play. Everybody had their skills. Those guys, the fire team, knew exactly what their job was. The 2 guys who were behind me knew as soon as it happened, they were going left and right. They were flanking. And the guys in the back were guarding the back. And if the battle broke out larger, they would move up and take a secondary position to thin out the line and support the
And
flanks.
to get to that level, what kind of training do you do? Do you just play a lot with these same group of people, or is it just a lot of training? Or
It was a combination. Like when we played with Marauders coming out of paintball, it was a lot of just a little bit of talking, a little bit of picking up tricks and trades and just getting to know each other. When we moved into Legion, we did a lot more training. We would do things like and even though we might never really have the situation, it was about knowing that your guys knew the things. So when it did occur, you didn't have to really overthink of where was everybody else in the squad. And we did one where we did a couple of weekend trainings where we did the glass house. And if you know what the glass house is, we literally just, pieces of tape and string and whatever in the shape of a building, and you just walk
try and
through,
go through it without it coming.
and just see how you would, when we'd have guys who were doing the training, and some guys who were always taking the course, but then we shuffle it around so everyone saw it from a different angle. And it didn't matter. There was no set team that was always going to go through the front door, and one particular guy was going to be the lead, and he was going to go left and all that. It was always shuffled it so that whatever happened, 3 guys who found themselves at the door, they all knew all their positions. And they had the confidence to go in and know that if they went in, the guys behind them were going to be backing them up, right?
Because that's definitely a big factor.
And it was just bonding and team play. It was just like knowing what your guys were going to do. And then when you're out in a big field area and you hit an enemy and guys are now calling out position and they're bunkering this guy, so no fire's coming out of him because he's just fearing for his life, we can now move our objective to the guy who's being more aggressive and knock him out and physically take him out and move and slowly pinch them off. And some of it was just going out into the woods with your friends. And on the field, we're very lucky that Panther allows us to just go over to the other side and set up targets and stuff when we do a little training thing. And we do a little bit of tactics and a little bit of just general skills. And sometimes
get to know the other person.
Yeah, and just getting to know, and just some of it was just it wasn't about sitting in front of a target and shooting it 300 times. It was about taking 10 shots and dropping your mag and putting the next mag in to make, know where your kit was and be familiar with it. And then, in the middle of the thing, guy runs, I'm out of mag, and the next guy in line just tosses him the mag. He catches it, he's in, and he's still back on point, right? Because that stuff happens. We just practice those little things, right?
Yeah, you want to keep your squad going.
Yeah.
Okay, so then my next question then is just with your experience and everything like that. Are there any sort of resources that you could point out to people, or like any resources that you kind of fall back to kind of time and time again that you sort of follow and use as a guideline to kind of?
We found, clearly, like, Airsoft is a very military style thing. So there's a lot of great books out there about various tactics and stuff. And it all, these things, covering zones and the purpose of all that stuff. And that's all great stuff. You have to develop it and adjust it to the fact that we're playing Airsoft and the distances are different.
Distances.
Yeah, the distances, and then we're slinging plastic BBs.
Understandable. Some people cringe when they say military tactics.
True.
I mean,
but a lot of the tactics do play out, right?
It is still a team-oriented, squad-oriented.
If I flank you, I flanked you.
Well,
very much,
I believe the things that make them similar is that the end goal is the same.
Yeah,
right.
You win.
How you get there, is how you get there.
Eliminate the target.
We've had lots of great moments where we've been fighting in a bush and we're all pushing up, and suddenly we start to get overwhelmed, and so the tactic is like, hey, pop a couple smokes and throw them out, and
peel back,
peel back, and inside that, I'm up front, my buddy yells, hey, peel back. He pulls the smoke and he throws it. It hits the tree branch and comes back at him. Doesn't cover me whatsoever, but now he can no longer see where I am, and he's not covering me as I peel back. Those things happen all the time, right? And I knew
but it's
to
fun,
keep
though.
low.
It's fun.
It was fun. We had a good chuckle about that. He felt foolish, but at the same time, that was brilliant. That was the best throw. It was beautifully laid out. He did everything right, except in anticipation of one inch tree limb that was hanging just at the right height.
So just decided to deny
this whole success, right? And I've rushed I've rushed a building with my guys in full support, and dropped to just a pistol because it's now close quarters. Run all the way across the field, fired a dozen rounds in, only to realize that I have ejected my mags way back where I started.
That was literally my Omega experience,
man,
actually. I got out of the helicopter. I saw the group of enemies that I was supposed to engage. I unloaded the M60 on them, only to realize that I did not hook up the feed tube. So I was literally just spilling BBs at my feet.
Yeah, that was bad.
So, things happen.
All the time, yeah. And as long as you're friends, and your squad are there to cover you, it's just a good joke.
Exactly. You can turn it into a little bit of a joke.
Exactly.
So then, for some of our viewers here, then, is there anything that you would specifically suggest for any kind of up-and-coming teams or new
how do they
squads,
get started?
Like, sort of resources that they should kind of look at? Because I understand you brought up, military tactics and stuff like that. So, like, for myself, specifically, I've looked at a lot of, some of the Haley strategic stuff that he did for PTS and whatnot. I've looked at old, breach and clear drills. Now, mind you, it's not as intense in Airsoft and whatnot, but still the same aspects of it translate over, your arc of fire, clearing zones and everything like
exactly,
that.
yeah.
So,
Corners.
so are there any resources that you would specifically sort of suggest to people?
I'm, in this side of thing, this is where I am the worst. I'm the big picture guy. I got, grew up with a lot of military around me. I, got to, do a little training with guys who knew more than I did. And then in that, I myself was just a bit kind of detail orientated in my ADD sort of stuff that I sort of did. So I didn't really, I couldn't really call out, a book, a manual, a program or something like that. It's collectively a little bit of everything. I've been really lucky to, be exposed to type of idea and just sort of adapting it to the situation in which you're in is
I
the
think
biggest,
from your side there, your experience speaks for itself. You've gone through so many of
Yeah,
these.
I'm also old, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, I wasn't getting
I wouldn't phrase it like that,
date
but I would,
yourself just yet.
but as Poi said, your experience does speak for itself. Like,
Yeah, you've gone through so many of these sims that for you it's basically just another day.
And the team dynamic as well, right?
Yeah.
Just being
Yeah, and
like,
you have a good team as well.
Yeah, exactly. And finding those guys you gel with, making mistakes.
Yep.
And then most people, make mistakes and pretend it didn't happen, right?
your friends are different.
If you got good friends, they will let you know that mistake happened, and they will relish
And they'll
in
never
that.
let you forget
They'll
it.
never really let you forget these
Never,
things, right? And
ever.
that's part of it, and that's great. But at the same time, for us, one of our big things was all of these. We do a debrief of how the event went, how the
What can
patrol
you do
went.
better?
Okay, sure, we got lucky. We got from A to B, but really, we didn't really cover. We got lucky. Like there was units out there, and they just happened to be in the wrong space, and we slipped by them, and we didn't know they were there. They didn't know there. There was just a few situations where we were. I'll go to Milson West, where there's a great video of this unit that goes on the mini helicopter out. They get dropped off. They slip through behind the lines. We happen to do a patrol right behind them. One of our guys, Roman, of course, because he's looking at his big giant feet as he's stumbling through the woods, he looks down and he goes, "Hey, I don't recognize these fresh prints, and they're going the wrong way." And apparently we just happened to cross where these guys were. He was the only one who picked up on it, and it was like, fair enough. We stopped, we investigated it. After the event, we saw this video where these guys had just crossed in front. They got behind the unit, they got spooked, and they came back. And in their vent, they go, "Oh, we've been cut off by a Russian unit." That was us sitting on the hill that we had blocked, looking at the footprints,
Just
and we had
by
set up in this
accident?
area. And they were able to shoot
I
through
think that
the
was
alley.
the Desert Fox Recon unit.
I think so.
I think that was
I've
because
seen that.
because
Yeah.
I think we saw that from the fields because we literally saw one group show up, slip behind a hill, and then we're like, "Oh yeah, there's our guys," and then we kept going through the field. And next thing we know, another group popped out of the other hill, and we're like, "Wait, that's not friendly. Whoa, what just happened?"
Yeah, we went running at them.
Yeah, and that was just one of those chance things. And we went back afterwards and we were like, okay, what was the various things we made mistakes? Some of them was that our two units had moved up in front of the trees and we were sitting there in the shade, keeping our guys all thing. But we had left our commander, Scott, behind our unit, and yet there was an enemy unit behind him. So had they come up, they would have taken out Scott first. And that was like, okay, that's a bad thing. So let's reorganize ourselves not to do that to Scott anymore, okay? Because he's trying to help us out. Getting him shot first, not the way to lead, right? And correcting those things afterwards and being aware of how we mess up, because we mess up all the time. But as long as you can kind of
That's part of life, right?
If you can own
Exactly.
up to your mistakes, then your team has more faith in you. Like, yes, you messed up. I saw you mess up. But you pretending you didn't mess up is one thing.
Well,
or you
acknowledging
going,
it,
"Oh, man, yeah, I didn't see that happen."
Well, and that's the
Sorry,
big part
guys.
too with Airsoft too, is that what we all got to keep in mind too is at the end of the day, like, it's a game, and that's why we can kind of sit back and have a fun and laugh at it. Like,
Yeah.
I understand with the military guys.
They get one-time chance.
Exactly, it's
And that's
one
why they train.
time, and that's why they take it seriously, and
It's a
that's
job.
why well, exactly,
Yeah.
and that's why
That's why they
have-
run drills all the time.
And that's what their drills are. And that's how we run it. Like,
Yeah.
even when we were doing our drills or we were playing in smaller games or bigger games, at the end of it, we try to, either as the command force or as our entire squad, and just sort of like, yeah, we could have done this better, or
How can we attack this
yeah,
problem?
how can we,
or-
yeah.
Or do we
It's a
do a
little-
lot of experimenting in
Yeah,
Airsoft
exactly.
too?
Yeah,
So.
and like I said, we
Trial and error.
Yeah,
Exactly.
my experience is based off of all the mistakes that we've made, and that is
your
and
resource right there.
That is my resource, and it's a very big book.
Okay, boys. So you heard it here first. You have to go out there and make mistakes. We are done the podcast.
Well, my take on that is definitely, practice makes perfect, just like with anything. Looking at all the resources out there, obviously, like you said, you picked up on a lot of things. So I would say for, everyone listening here, it's to just, look at everything that you can. You know, try and take as much information as you can from that and sort of internalize it. You know, sort of make it your own, but you know, constantly be trying to learn. You know, because as you know, as Merlin said, you know, you learn from every event. So.
Every event we've done, it's like even when we got a victory, we realized it was by the, you know, fingernails.
Exactly.
That
Sometimes
it went
it's by
back and
luck.
forth. We got lucky. We were a little stubborn.
It could have ended
It
very
could have gone the other
differently.
way.
Yeah, exactly.
Very quickly. And but the next time, okay, we didn't make that mistake. We made a different mistake, but you know, we'll learn from that too. That's.
I did print out. I'll send a link to everybody down at the video, but I did print out the. I do have, like, I come from a teaching background, so I do have a Fireteam tactics and procedures.
A detailed.
I come from a teaching background, so for me, when I was under their wing and, you know, learning all of these things, coming from a video game background as well as, like, you know, all of this, it's like it became familiar to me that it's like it's almost the same repetitive thing over and over again, where certain things are patterns, repetitions, and as well as, like, you know, this can be taught pretty well, and you could boil it down to a lot of things. And I've, like, in this guide, if you guys are, like, more than welcome to check the link below if you're at the YouTube link. It goes over like rifleman roles, rifleman basics, all the way down to the buddy system that we were talking about, the fire team, which is a 4-man team, and then as well as, you know, your roles and responsibility in that fire team, and as well as what a team leader does, what a rifleman does, and it goes over detailed formations and stuff. But the first bit of it is probably the best part. Is it sort of gives you a straight up guide on how to operate in a fire team, and then after that it'll be a squad leader, right? Because a standard 4-man fire team or 5-man fire team is like the best way to get started in airsoft, especially if you're a new team. If you solidify these sort of, you know, tactics and procedures, then, you know, you're on your way to, you know, growing into like a squad at that point. And I've, like, for me, all these years, I've just written it down and then, you know, put it in a little guide for you guys. So if you guys are interested, and, you know, if, especially, the mill scene coming up, Op Shanty, yes. Yeah.
So
if you guys,
weekend.
The mini sim.
If you guys sort of need like a guide for it, you know, I got you guys hooked up and covered.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's really hard to find resources online out there.
Unfortunately, yeah, I know that at least some of the stuff that I was trying to look at got taken down the last year.
There's a lot of stuff out there, but it's really hard to kind of like sift through the BS, right? To find what you're looking for, a lot of the time it's really hard to get a direct answer. But,
hey guys, come on, just join the military.
But yeah, I mean, I get a lot of cringe for just people reading through that. But like, if you need something for your team,
well,
like,
I don't know. I guess some people take it cringy because, in their opinion, it's like, you know, they take it super seriously, but then they find it for a different purpose. Honestly, for me, like, I can, you know, looking at this, I like this, and I can transfer this into some of the stuff that I do, even just for, you know, video games. You know, I get it; it's used for real life stuff and whatnot, but it's transferable nonetheless, right?
yeah.
Well, exactly. Everything that you have in here isn't like unnecessary.
Yep.
Right?
It's straight to the point.
Exactly. Yeah. You've done a real nice, no bullshit way, and this is from 2009. I am proud for it.
Yeah. That's when I started, like, you know, video gaming as well as airsoft thing. So I mean,
I was gonna say, you know, good times 2009.
Yeah. While we're at the topic of squads, I did.
Well, we've talked about it, so
yeah, we
asked the community.
We asked the viewers or our community what is, you know, a squad to them. You know, what is the numbers? You know, it goes all over the place. I guess people don't understand what a squad and a fire team or, you know, a section is. It's a lot of different meanings to it.
The definitions seem to get watered down. Hollywood doesn't really help that out. You know, like you know, a lot of people hear us, you know, using the term section, you know, buddy teams, fire teams, and stuff like
Squad
that.
up, bro.
You know, so it does get a little confusing, and I was expecting this, you know, when we asked that question. Honestly though, I'm surprised it didn't happen actually. I was more expecting a lot of the Fortnite squad up questions.
Like 4 people.
Yeah, you know, it's like, or like, you know, PUBG trio, you know, 3 group kind of things. But I'm happy that didn't that didn't happen.
No, we got some interesting answers here.
I mean, our quick take was on that was, and like I said, we cannibalized various different meanings,
Yeah.
procedures, and whatnot. And there's NATO, there's Russian, there's the American. Every army has their different thing, and we've taken a mishmash of it. For the way we set ourselves up, we would basically go and it was basically good number workout. Was we do 2 5-man fire teams, and 2 5-man fire teams would produce a squad, and then basically 3 squads would produce a platoon. And you'd have basically 30 guys plus at least a 3-man command on top of that, so you're about 33 strong. That type of idea. And that was like very basic. I know there are probably a million people out there who'll come up with different variations on that, and this is not how any one force particularly works, but this was our way of getting very basic units. And when even when we play in various events, we might have, we try to go with the 3 10-man, squads, but it usually ends up being 11, a 13, and a 12, right? Because
of the numbers
balances
issue.
and whatever.
And, you want to play with your friends. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
availability
we try to lay
also.
this very basic, straight formula out with, but the idea is that inside that you have your 2 fire teams. There's an A and a B. The A is sort of in charge, and he's the one who's going to be talking up. And just to keep the communication to a minimum, so you don't have 12 people on radios talking to your commander who's like, what's going on over there?
You have to have a structured command and control.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
if
it's
anyone's
to
been in
help
that
the commander
Discord
out.
channel, it gets hectic after 3 people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's dive into these
And these answers?
answers. Yeah.
Oh my god, these are pretty good. I appreciate everyone answering. The ones that answered serious, even the ones that answered silly. Thank you.
Well, even the silly ones have a point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like
Jeff.
the ones that are just like one because they don't have friends, unfortunately, to play with. Come on.
Yeah, they're
Jeff.
definitely the lone wolf.
Yeah, the lone wolf. So I mean, it's not a squad if you're a lone wolf, unfortunately.
Unfortunately,
Unfortunately, not.
a bit of a stretch.
And it's also bad to have 6 snipers in one team.
I mean, I will point out that there's a couple of liars.
Hate
in
to
here,
break
okay?
it to you, but if you're all in a group and you all have sniper rifles, you're not a squad. Hate to break it to you guys.
First of all, snipers are like recon.
Yeah, exactly. First of all, they're a recon.
you
Second
telling
of
me
all,
I'm
they're a
not Novrich?
command asset. So,
I'm
yeah.
not Novrich?
Moving on.
I'm not Novrich. Okay.
Thanks, Novrich. You ruined everything.
What do you mean?
Thanks, Dayton.
Sniper is the best best role to play in any game. Always. Milsim especially.
So I'm seeing an average of about 4 to 6, 6 to 8.
4 seems to be the number that I.
Four is a good
Yeah, 4 to
number.
5
Like,
is basically
like what I would break it down looking at this is that a lot of the people who have Milsim experience seem to have a higher number, right?
Yeah.
Towards more of like the 8 being the average, while your typical, airsoft community seems like
Who has 4 friends? will have-
Exactly. It seems like they stick
don't
around
even
4 to
have that.
5. So,
Yeah. 5-man fire team. I see that there. About
Yeah.
4. I only have one person to play with. Cry. Why did Tiana's 10 to 20? That's a platoon size.
she's bringing her family.
Just bring your horse. That's all that matters.
That is 2
It
full
was
squads.
considered a team
Yeah,
back in the
two full
day.
squads. Yeah.
I like this one where it's a little bit of on, Merlin's take there with the 8-man team divided into 2, where communication is, key. So, Zero, you got the right idea going on there.
Yeah. We got SODA Soda Airsoft. 4, 2.
Oh, Tina.
4. 2 small teams can move together. There you go. So it's like
Yeah.
a fire team and buddy system.
That's actually a friend that, little quick story with her. Tina, if you're listening, thank you. She's a great girl. Met her down at Milsom West there at the last one we went down to. We had gone down the day before early, so we could experience playing an indoor airsoft field. We wanted to try it out and everything like that. So we ended up going. We showed up. It was a lot smaller than we were expecting. We were a pretty large number of people that showed up there, and it was quite daunting. All we came with was our Milsim gear, so we're playing in that, and that was not the field to play a Milsim style game.
We were in a
softers.
Yeah, it didn't it didn't translate down. I will say this, like your skills from the indoor translate up and out, but if you're coming from
having a bunch of lone wolves run a mill, that's not.
No, but it was a lot of fun, and we met Tina there, and she just blatantly came up to us and was like, "Wow, you guys are all Milsim. You're clearly here from Milsim West." And I was like, "Oh, hey, yeah, nice to meet you." And then she just literally said, "Hey, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm on NATO as well." And we met up, and then from there, just we played with her over the event and everything. She was she's quite a tough girl, like, you know, seriously, like, really impressed me and everything like that too. Like, she's been playing airsoft for a long time. She's got her own YouTube channel and everything, and like, great girl. Can't wait to go down there and play with her again. So thank you again, Tina.
I'll tell you a slight, little story. We had this.
Yeah, of course.
Go ahead.
To Milsom West, and this young guy wanted to play. Of course, you had to have one of his parents come because, right? Because he was too young.
Under 16 or
yeah.
something.
So he didn't. He had his mom come. That's great. Good on her. But he didn't tell her that he was going NATO, and he put her on Russian. And she didn't have. He gave her a
Is that
Canadian Tire. No, it's probably not.
Yeah, is that
And then she had the wrong gear. She didn't even have the right goggles. She had ski goggles. So we met her in the parking lot. We heard about this. So the guys were like, "Okay, so this is how this plays out. Okay, we'll scrounge her up a really great guy. We will find her the right goggles. We will drag this woman everywhere she needs to be so she can find her son and kill him." That was it. Right? This guy was just, all right, you're just our number one hunt guy, right?
Yeah, like priority
14,
one
what's he
here.
look like? Total, we got the best description. And then we
Goes
just-
up to the chain of command. We need to look for this man. HVT. All right, special mission. Let's go.
before the events even start, we already have our first operation.
God, that would have been a great one to run into. Holy crap! What kind of guy would do that to his mother?
I know.
I really hope she got him execution style.
I didn't find out how that ended, but it went around she was in our militia. It went around so quickly. Guys were like, "Okay, I got an extra pair of $150 glasses that I'm going to give to this complete strange woman."
Yeah.
And this guy's like,
Shoot
"You're
your
pulling his
son."
gun." We just loaded her all up.
We need to find your son.
Put her in the key unit. Okay.
God, it would only help if his name was Ryan.
Oh my gosh.
Like, who are you looking for? We're looking for a
Ryan.
James Ryan.
Oh my gosh. I like Jeff's answer there.
Yeah, I was just
Paul
gonna
with
say.
his minigun.
Yeah, one guy,
One guy.
6 barrels.
Can we talk about your brother? Your brother responds, "If they ain't blood, they ain't my squad material, cuz."
Okay, so
That's your blood.
sounds like he only runs with one other person.
Yeah, I guess. I'll get my sister in here. We'll get a 4-man if we get my other brother playing as well.
I do appreciate this one. Like witchcraft, you need at least 4 to call all the corners.
4 sets of eyes, right?
Not wrong.
That's that. What is that? Like every quarter? You're
Yeah.
There you go. So 69. That's enough of that.
God damn it, Joel. Thank you, community. Oh
yeah,
my God.
that was hilarious.
Always a pleasure to read what the people say. You know, it's
Yeah.
always nice.
Well, I hope they got like a good insight of like how important squads are in airsoft, because
When the difference they make.
yeah, we went off tangent so many times.
Yeah, sorry.
Because of the
Our
fact that
apologies.
There's so much to go into.
there's so much because of the fact that
We could go back to this.
when we roll into a squad, there is a story, that we like
With everything.
with everything, like you're basically in there with your buddy in the shit, and
Yeah.
you're basically like, yeah, this is what we're gonna do, this is how we're gonna have fun, regardless of how bad the situation is, like if you're losing or if you're winning, right?
Exactly.
You always got that, the buddy, that fire team, that squad that's with you, to experience it, right? Like you getting lost in
Not saying that bad
Milsim West.
experiences are like what you should look for, but they
You
make
make
for
the
some pretty memorable moments.
You make the most of
yeah,
it.
like
Yeah.
they were bad at
Hindsight.
the time, but I look back at them
Yes.
and
Okay.
they're some of
Thank
my
you. As
favorite
long as you
times.
added
Yeah,
that.
and-
In hindsight, they are great times.
Yeah, and you're with that group of, you're with your squad mates. You're with people that that you relied on,
Exactly.
right? And
Yeah.
they're always there.
Some of the best things. There was, I was with one of our teammates, Tom Foster. He hasn't played in a while, but one of our first events that we were playing at, my gun goes down. He's running out of ammo. And I'm literally popping rounds out of mine and manually loading them into his
magazines.
Right? And I can basically, I'm staying 2 shots ahead. I'm gaining 2 shots every mag. So like I get 4 in, he's firing them. He's giving me another one. I got 6 in, he's firing them. And the guys are just rushing up the hill.
And that's
he's-
memorable,
And
right?
he's just holding them off. And we're literally just laying in a ditch. Like we have nothing to defend ourselves, but it's just that, I'm loading, he's doing, and we held off until the end of the game. And that was like one of the best, one of our great moments of stuff. There's a few times where we were at one event, our squad got divided up. We were sent to go locate, and the rest of our squad would move up onto us afterwards, but they got stretched out, time, size, everyone gets lost. And so myself and another James Dickerson, Dickie, we go to move on to the second thing. It's raining. We're being stalked by someone. We can see IR lights in the distance in the front of us, and we're making our way through. And we do this full circle, and then we get back, and we find out the next day we're talking to our guys, and they're like, "Yeah, we got to your position. We couldn't find you guys. We sent out a patrol, and then we saw some enemy, and we started to try to close in on them, and we found, oh man, we've been stalking each other for 2 hours." And there's this point where me and Dickie, we'd move so far, and we'd stop, and Scott was on the other side, and he was like, "Yeah, it was like they knew what we were doing. Like every move I made, they countered it just so that I couldn't trap them." And we were laying in a puddle of water. It was pouring rain. I could feel like the stream running through my pants. Like we're just soaked, right? And then we'd move on and whatever. And there's a moment where in the middle of the dark, I take a step forward, and James puts his arm out. And he stops me basically from walking off a cliff. Like I got that foot into nothing, right? And I haven't made contact. And he just like, I step back.
That's
and we
a
go
good
around.
buddy
And it
right
was
there.
like, wow,
He's watching
thanks, man.
over you.
Ready to cover me. And then, we were falling back after that. And he had the sniper rifle at this time. And a guy came up over a hill. It was literally the 150, foot shot in the middle of the dark. He just turns, cracks off one, and the guy on the other end just goes, "Hit!" It's like, no way! High five, run for your life. There's 600 guys behind him. Yeah. But yeah, it was just those moments, where you just pull it off, where you all survive, and it can be. It was like we were soaking wet, we were hungry, we were running
the
out
time,
of ammo.
it's terrible.
It was terrible, and you're being stalked by people from every direction. When are you going to take that shot in the forehead, right? And we pulled it out the other end. So
Hey, but you had your buddy there.
and I had my buddy there, right? He was right beside me the whole time. We kept each other going and not going off the cliff. And I saved him here, he saved me there. Yeah. And the next day, those are the moments, you just like, that's great.
When you're sitting back at the farm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what I pay for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 2 days in, and you just, you smell bad.
Yeah.
And you're everything you've eaten is just terrible.
Yeah.
And nothing is working, but you're laying in a hole in the ground, covered in dirt, with a bunch of guys, and everything's just going wrong. And you look around, and there's just gear and kit, and mags, and all those things you were like polishing the day before.
trying to
Like,
keep-
oh, this is my brand new thing. Now you're just like throwing it.
Flinging it around.
Whatever, man. I don't care.
I don't want to figuratively
Hold my
die.
hole.
Like,
Yeah. You're
Wow.
trying to drag a man almost half your, or not half your weight, but your weight plus half up a hill into cover because he's been shot. All those things. That's the best stuff.
The struggle is real. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It makes it a whole different dynamic too, right?
And that's the team play. That's the having a squad or finding that fire team, putting them together. And there's no lead out of it. It's just like, okay, you're qualified for leading, you're qualified for direction. You're the guy who
Everyone trusts
senses
each
these
other.
things.
Yeah.
We trust each other. We all have the skills. We all have, but some guys have better skills. So why are we giving the compass to the guy with the worst directional skills?
exactly.
Like, I've
Now's
stepped on
not
it.
the time to learn.
Very much so. We went to an event. This guy, he was brilliant. He was an instructor in the Rangers, and there was a reason why he was an instructor. He was brilliant. He had good communicational skills and talk. The moment we went out for a night thing, he went totally the wrong way.
Oh.
And we immediately realized, that's why you're a teacher. You're really good. You're really good at instructions. You're terrible with directions.
Yeah.
And he was like, he was talking to us about us giving the wrong directions. And he's like, you're saying that backwards. No. I am west of his situation. He's in the east. So I am, reverse to that. And
Exactly.
Get your cardinal
He
directions
was just totally headed backwards. And I was like, how are you the guy? But then, like 4 hours ago, I was 100% behind you. Right now, I'm really doubting what you're saying to me.
It's gone down, and there is a new person on the field.
But you didn't know him, right? So
No,
there you
exactly.
go.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry, off topic there, buddy.
It's all good. So I did mention before we started, we had a little bit of surprise for these two because I didn't tell them. Go ahead, Craig.
So funny enough that you guys called me up and said, hey, you want to have a conversation about squads? And I think I might have alluded to this before. We've had some little discussions in the background about we were putting together for Omega. We were trying to, we have put it together. We just have to launch it. And it was basically, we wanted to make it easier for guys to create fire teams and create squads. So we wanted to create a small course where basically we would take 10 people. They don't have to be in a squad. They didn't have to be whatever, but we wanted to introduce them to what a squad does. And we were going to break it down into the idea that it was a 24-hour event. But we're going to only take 3 hours, but you're going to prepare for a 24-hour event. And we were going to break it into 3 sections, and that was patrol, base defense, and move to contact. And basically give, anybody who wanted to sort of sign up the ability to basically spend 3 hours where we would walk you through a sort of course that we've set up where you're going to get to do all the various things you're going to need to do in a bigger field, bigger event, in a sort of 4-hour course. And it was basically to help set up squads.
Yeah, I mean,
it allowed people to come out of that and go, hey, I've met some people. Now I have a better understanding what a squad is, and it'd be everything from how to move as a patrol, the things that you're going to have to jump over, move around, cover each other. What's the point of what you're doing while you're spread out the way you are, and also a little bit of hand signals and so who's in charge and where your medic is and how you'd put these people in their position, and then rotate everybody out so everyone gets this opportunity, and then move through a series of obstacles that would allow you to, have a peek at all the various things that you would have, and then go to a
this is all hands-on.
This is all hands-on.
Compared to my guide, it's
this is physically 4 hours walking.
This is just reading
through,
material, like what I'm giving you. But what you're offering is basically hands-on, instructor-led, and as well as participants as well.
Yeah.
So that's actually a pretty cool idea because no one does that here.
I think that's really cool.
My question is, do you need OPT4?
Well, the second phase was going to be base defense, where we wanted to break it down. So as a platoon, what you would do, as a squad, as you would come into your position, reporting to your commander, they would put you on either there's basically 3 details that you're going to find, that is either rest, base defense, or you're on patrol or guard duty type of idea, active or non-active. Work them through that, show them a little bit of everything of that, do a little bit of training on the field of how you would move in larger formations and why the military does a lot of the stuff it does. Nothing in the military is by chance. If it's from your polished boots to why you stand in lines and stuff, isn't because of they just like you to line up. They want you to understand where you're going to be in perspective of the guy left and right to you, and being 6 feet away or 40 feet away knowing that when you take 5 steps forward, the other guy's taking 5 steps forward. He knows that he's taking those 5 steps at the same rate that you're taking.
And you running drills at the field like this will basically ingrain it into people.
Exactly, yeah,
And they know why.
Yeah, and just
And
do a
it's a good
little
experience,
education
yeah.
and then walk everyone through it. We're not going to, it's not about marching around or anything, but it's like, okay, this is why they do these things. And this is just so you can understand the little tiny stuff that they do, and then why that little stuff goes, when you take it forward, repeats itself. And it's that learning. So you get several opportunities to do that, and a bit of how you would defend a base type of idea, from just basically building a bunker, if that's part of it, clearing the area in front of the bunker so you understand where you're going to be firing and deny your enemy lovely little holes to creep up on you, and know where they are so you can put your guards in the right place. And then just moving from that to seeking out your enemy, going on missions, pushing forward, achieving tasks. And sometimes the task might not be engaging the enemy, but literally just peeking over the hill and finding the enemy, or identifying a object or a place, especially in Airsoft. Finding targets is a lot of it. And then from there, and learning how to peel away from an attack, and then work into an attack, and then flanking, and then going on to a final attack. A little bit of at the end, having everybody attack a certain target, and as fire teams, and working together a little bit more out of sight. Now that you all know what everyone's doing, you should be able to say, in 5 minutes we're going to hit this target, and everyone will hit it in 5 minutes and not 6.5 minutes and whatnot, and move fast. And then that was really the end of those 3 type of ideas. So yeah, we're trying to put that together. We basically got it together. We just have to get our website out and basically basically
I'm guessing
sell
after
tickets.
all this COVID
Yeah.
stuff sort of settles down. Yeah.
Well, part of it is we should be able to do it even via, because that's why we picked 10 as a small thing. And also many of the things would work out, which is great, because you better be 6 feet apart from each other.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're really providing a large target for
That's a
people to
grenade
shoot at.
launcher
That's a
right there.
grenade launcher right there.
Exactly,
So having that spread and taking COVID and sort of saying, okay, well,
Working
this
around
is
it.
let's work this into what you're going to have to do. We never need to be. You never
And-
should be that close to your anybody.
And this is
Yeah.
good training for your events as well,
It
because
is, yes.
having gone through multiple events from your guys' side, it's hard to find people that actually know what they're doing, and there's people that think
And
they
there's
know
a
what
big
they're doing.
want for it,
Yeah.
Like I get that a lot here, Craig, too, with like the younger audiences and stuff like that. People who are the younger player base. Everyone's interested in the events that we're talking about, into the style of play that we're talking about.
But they don't know-
But they don't know what really is or goes into that.
Or what to expect.
What
from
goes behind it, yeah. And,
Yeah.
and that was part of what we wanted to do was, from this course, we were able to offer a series of smaller courses. So this was a sort of an all-around, a little bit introduction to everything. You can walk away and go, hey, I got whatever. But if you wanted to come back, there was a map reading course, there was a radio and communication course. There was
That to me is something that's really important, that I find lacking. Like I myself have forgotten almost everything about maps, so that to me is something that I'd be interested in, just because
the
it's
orientation, just being able
Yeah,
to
orienteering,
understand.
yeah.
exactly
orienteering, which is-
like knowing where you're going is hugely important, especially when it comes to being able to read topography and stuff like that, because you could, like you said, right, he stopped you from going over a cliff, right, if you're able to know the terrain and what to expect and stuff like
being
that.
able to, and so many times, much of our as a team, how we really played advantage on places is that we did our homework. We figured out what the terrain was going to be. We went to our friends who know how to make maps. We developed our own maps that we knew what we were looking at. And by doing that, by creating your own map, you understand every inch of that map.
Exactly.
And then as we would go and we play events, we would start marking in extra things on our maps that would give us the advantage of, okay, we know there's a small hill here. When you look across it, it just looks like a big empty space. It's 2,700 acres of grass grounds, but there's all these little valleys that you can move a unit through.
Yeah.
Though people think they're looking at it all, they really aren't seeing what's actually there.
Yeah.
And those were getting those abilities, and that was part of many of our tactics, was that the fact that we did the homework around it and paid attention to the little details. One of them, I always joke, where we all carry our radios, our Baofungs and whatnot. I can barely turn my radio on. I have other guys who can figure that out. I mean, Scott's got a computer hookup. He basically does all our stuff for us, which is, God bless him.
Don't you worry. We all have radio guys.
Yeah. And I got my, that guy in my squad who can fix anything, right? And that's, all part of it. And we wanted to sort of give the opportunity for guys who want to learn these various skills a place to actually take them out. And we're not all knowing. It's just, this is our interpretation. It's 64 shades of gray on everything. Here's our version of gray. Adapt it to what you want.
Exactly.
And learn from it and build it out. Yeah.
And
but we'll give you a baseline.
Airsoft is more than just a shooting game. I mean,
Yeah.
Airsoft is the gun itself.
Yeah.
We've had this discussion
Yeah,
before.
exactly. It's kind of what you make in
Yeah.
what you put
But
into it.
it's once you start grouping things into squads or teams, then it gets more intricate into
This is
the
what makes
tactics.
it a sport. No, I'm just kidding.
We had a previous discussion about is Airsoft a hobby or a sport, and it got pretty deep. Anyways,
We'll go down that rabbit hole another time.
this is like what you're offering is basically a great service for, like you were talking about, like it was hard to get resources and as well as like some sort of training or anything, but you going through so many milsims and so many different events that you've gotten through all these experiences. Now it's great that you're sharing all of this information with the public, because it's like it's one of those things. It's like how many times do you got to go there and like, what's Milsim West all about? We'll just look at a video or something, right? That's it, just a video. And there's not a lot of instructions other than reading the actual instruction booklet.
Exactly. It's hard to sort of like you like watching a video doesn't really translate like being out there late at night,
a 10-minute video.
or if like the temperature suddenly changes and you're freezing your butt off when it was warm not even half an hour ago. So those things you can't translate. So to be able to have something like this to even expose you to just a little bit of that is definitely something that I think is really, really cool. It's like you definitely are filling a need that exists out here that wasn't being filled by
and
others.
there's already a ton of people doing IPS and all the shooting stuff. As much as I like it, does get kind of boring. But
Where they're focusing specifically
Yeah.
on just the mechanics of
the mechanics.
Yeah.
But as far as like, what you're offering, all right, with the experience, it's like there's not a lot that people.
What's the next step, right?
Yeah,
And
it's the next step.
Survival airsoft.
Yeah.
And part of it was just all the little things. What kit should you be taking? And when you've got a 5-man fire team, you don't have to have 5 first aid kits. You
Yeah.
start
And you don't
unloading
need the
that weight.
newest jet boil,
Exactly.
Right?
You
You can live with just a heat puck,
There's,
Yeah, and you can
there's
even
some
translate it.
great little bits of
Yeah,
tidbits
you
out
can even
there.
translate
Yeah.
all that small little bits to like a regular airsoft game. Like you take your team and you just start practicing your communication and your flanks, and how to take care of each other at the field, right?
Or hey, random thought, if you wanted to go camping or hiking, right?
yeah,
Gear prep,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
The same gear that you would use on your so-called survival events kind of thing, still translate it to that. So it's like,
just don't bring a gun.
Like,
yeah,
try not to.
yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Like safety reasons.
Yeah.
maybe
I
maybe a
mean-
knife just for
cutting
stuff, but yeah.
Yeah.
I just came back from the Bowen Lakes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And so we did 7 days, 6 nights. And most of the kit that I brought, short of, a bigger tent and more food or whatever, because it was a kayak trip, it was that. So I traded out the gun for a kayak. But basically,
Good trade.
Good
trade.
Yeah.
all the kit was the same.
Yeah.
Like you were really limited on your weight and what you were because
You're carrying
and what you're carrying, and it comes down to you're going through your stuff and you're figuring, okay, no, I don't need that. It might be ounces, but 10 times later
I'll trade that
those
for
things
10
are-
ounces of water.
Exactly. Yeah, you'll trade.
So
that
what
for
you're
anything,
telling me
right?
is you're also going to run the survival course.
There is a whole bunch of other stuff there. How do you set up your kit? What kits you should be carrying or not
Yep.
carrying?
So
there's
this coming
so many
year,
different things.
Survival Panther
Exactly.
will be a thing.
Hosted by Craig Grills.
Yeah.
I think you could do it. Come on.
The reason I ran this topic for this week is because I've received a lot of people like messaging me is like, hey, how's it like doing a milsim? Like, because Julian's milsim's coming up, right?
Yeah.
It's getting a lot of people asking, is like, hey, you know, what's there to expect for a milsim? And, you know, other than reading the rules, right? Because it's like, it's more than just the rules itself. There's a lot more thought process into it. There's your command and control structure. There's, you know, your different roles that you got to go through. You know, it's not a regular airsoft game. It's not just something you jump into and, you know, you're going to be out there at night. One.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be dark. You're going to be miserable because you're cold. It's getting cold now.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of these things you just don't, you can't just like pick it up and go through it right away. You either got to go through it and have a miserable time, or, you know, find someone who knows how to go through it, and then they'll teach you how to do it, right?
Or even just expose yourself. Like, for instance, you know, if you've never played at night or don't even know what it's like to play at night, and you want to go to like an overnight kind of event, you know, I highly suggest trying a night game.
Yep.
That way, you know, you can kind of understand what goes on. You know, like for instance, you know, the condensation can be a big factor. You know, not specifically when it comes to just like the survival factor, but like, you know, just maintaining your gun. You know, like condensation is actually a big factor, and if your gun shorts out, you know, game over for you, right?
I wouldn't want someone to just jump in there, pay $45 for like a big sim,
and then have a bad time.
And then they're like, oh, what do you mean I can't go back to the safe zone? No, you're in there. All the time.
Yeah, exactly. Game starts now.
Game starts now. It doesn't end until 8 a.m. Right? Yeah. You're like, you know, 2 hours in, you're like, well, this sucks.
Washroom's a safe zone, though.
That is true.
I don't know. I think, wasn't there a video of you guys trying to enter or take down a washroom in the middle of Milsom West, and there happened to be an English guy inside with a grenade who threw it out at the last second?
He knew. I was watching. He knew Dayton. He knew Dayton and Jet was coming in, so he had that grenade ready in prime. I think he was done doing his business. and then he opens it, throws it out, and then locks it in. And then they all run, and then he's like. And then I think Jet and Dayton are like, "Are you done?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm done." Because what else is he gonna do? Like fight from inside?
That man
Like,
should
I
have
have
brought
my pistol.
That man should
But
have brought a
there was a
pistol.
whole joke about everyone just like, you know, jokingly, there's the porta potty in the middle of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll breach it, right? And everyone's like having a chuckle about it, and they're all kind
And
of
then there's
lining
some
up.
dude in it.
Meanwhile, there's some poor guy just trying to take a dump in there.
As he's listening to everyone trying to
It's
breach
like,
this thing.
oh dear, right? You know?
Get the thermite. Like, what?
And it's
Hand it off to like Dayton and like Jet, making sure that he's done his business before you actually do your YouTube business.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man, yeah. Well, I won't lie. You know, I've been shot in the butt. You know, dude. You know, so it's safe.
I've been shot in my
Relatively.
sleeping bag a couple of times.
Yeah.
So I'd woken up, got shot, turned to the guy beside me who was supposed to be on night watch, gave him a good slap, went back to bed. Damn you.
Now I'm dead. Yeah, now I'm dead.
Oh man. As far as your it's not an event. It's a
course.
a course.
Yeah.
Do you know when you're gonna run it and how much and all these
we
details?
were basically, we did a little survey, and we actually talked to 5 people who apparently are now all in the thing.
Yeah.
They all signed up right there and then. They were very happy to do it. So we took that as, okay, we seem to have tripped onto something. We were looking at, it was basically $50 a ticket. It works out to about 4 hours of instructions.
That's not bad. Yeah.
When? That's a good question. We've been working on our websites, and you know how those things always seem to drag on.
Yeah.
That's usually where we are at this moment. But the idea is this is kind of the announcement. We haven't really told anybody, but apparently we have told everybody now.
It's a Panther Airsoft folding table exclusive.
There you go. There was our official
Thank
launch.
you.
You're welcome. As your first
Non-staff
Non-staff.
member.
non-staff member
Guest.
Yeah,
guest.
we really appreciate it.
Yeah,
You
no,
did
yeah.
that last minute.
There,
So,
yeah.
This is awesome. I think we'll end it there.
Yeah,
This is
we'll
going
wind
good.
up on
Run
a
2
high
hours
note.
here. This
Well,
is actually our longest.
And our longest,
podcast.
right?
You've basically given us our next topic and gonna get another invite because we clearly need to have a section where we just talk about Milsom West stories back at the fall.
And
That's what it
well,
is.
especially when you can get both sides
Yes,
of the
yeah,
same battle.
yeah.
We went to our very first event, Milson, and we, had a great time. And then we found out that one of our friends was on the other side, and he was playing for the NATO, and they put him in sort of third platoon, and they would be the guys who come up at the back and have to carry all the gear. And throughout the event, he knew that we were there, that we were coming down. We were on the other side, and he's like, he kept turning to his commanders, and when they would make these sort of mistakes, and go, "You need to watch this section," because they're like, "You don't know what you're talking about." And sure enough, something would happen. And then afterwards, talking with them, he's like, "Yeah, I saw that coming over and over again, and every time I'm like looking in the distance, and I can see those guys, scurrying off to the left, and I'm like, oh, I know who those are." Wow. I was like, yeah, that was great, but it was just so funny because we were like, I don't know if we did this right, and then he was like, yeah, you guys caught us like 6 times, where you just, we had
Pants
been destroyed,
down, yeah.
You had to go back in the truck. We came out the second time with the truck, and then Roman is jumping out of the woods, throwing hand grenades into the back, kills them again, and they go back, and there's just this on and on and on.
We need to have a segment of just Milsom West stories off tangent.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, just off tangent. Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Well, because there's definitely it's hilarious to hear both sides.
Well, and I
It's
know
the best,
people
yeah,
want to
yeah.
hear it because people are interested in trying to.
We
know
could
more.
just do like a Milsom debrief too, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time it seems like just the way it plays out, we seem to be on opposite sides. Although I enjoy when we get to play on the same side because we
Yes.
have a lot of fun doing that. But for me, I get a lot out of it when we can
Well,
do
you do make it challenging.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
We don't mind losing. Like, a lot of people get upset with losing. We don't mind losing, as long as the other team felt that we gave them a
good
battle.
fight. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Like, nothing better than, we spent all day setting up these traps and the whole thing, and at the end of the battle, we had Rangers and other guys coming up to us or staying where they were killed, so that we would come to them as we were checking on some of our traps and various things we did. And there was one where we did a grenade on a line, a trip line.
I remember this. Yes.
And these two Marines, they came through and tripped over it and went off. And I went back after the battle just to make sure everything was, disarmed or whatever. And these guys were there, and as I was cleaning up, he goes, "Did you guys do this?" And he was just like, it was brilliant. He goes, "I felt the cord on my foot. I looked down, and it slipped out, and the grenade was strapped to the tree, and it went off, and we just, they were like, that's where we died. This is where we died." And they stayed there the whole thing. They didn't they were just, no, that's how it ends for us, right?
Yeah.
That's
And they were
cool.
just like, yeah, you guys. He goes, "How did you do it?" And it was like, well, we jerry-rigged stuff we had, and we turned hand grenades into trip mines. And
He's dangerous,
and
you know?
he is dangerous. And I can't take credit for it. It was other guys in our squad, but it was a series of 2 guys figuring out how it would happen. One guy taking it to the commander, and the commander, who just happened to be a Canadian at this particular event, and he just
Dan?
saw the Wade. I think
Wade, yeah, Wade,
Wade.
yeah.
Saw it, said, everybody else, because we were the, idiot militia. And then suddenly we went from that to keep your hands off the Canadians, they're mine. And I got them doing a job. And then the next one we had Rangers asking permission to move through our section because they knew we had landmined it. And we're doing escorts through these things. And when there was a big fallback, we were running them up through the path we left. And then NATO came in behind it. And it was great. Just suddenly these guys were like, wow, you guys are a bunch of idiots. But the stuff you did all paid dividends. You took nothing and made a bunch out of it. And from that, when you get, a Green Beret or someone of that sort of thing go, that's wine. And that's the only word the guy said to us out of the whole thing, was, you guys are idiots at the beginning on day 1. And at the very end, he walked up to what the disaster we had created and went, that's wine.
Yeah.
And left.
Yeah,
We
that's
took it
great.
as, okay, that must be good.
Yeah, that's great.
That's
Wow,
great,
you're just an endless story.
You know, but one of my things is if you're going to ask me a question, you got to be ready for a
Yup.
long story.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
a lot
And
of
you're
stuff you got to
literally
have.
in a platform that allows you to do. We could go on, but I don't think our audience would want to.
We could keep this going, but then the guys would not be at the Milsim.
Yeah. I think Blair might say something already.
So
There's going to be a lot of editing here. Yeah.
No, there's not a lot of editing here. It's just me uploading it. Honestly, we can go 3 hours if I want.
Sorry,
Give me,
Blair.
Not
two,
sorry.
3 shows maybe.
Yeah, get some timestamps in there.
Just to make sure everybody who is listening to this today, there is the op on Saturday. So Op Shanty, make sure you check it out. We've given you a lot of information here. I've also provided you a tactics and procedure if you guys need something to sort of standardize when you're in there. Other than that, that's it.
I think we went through quite a bit, I think there's still a lot that we can get through, so I would really enjoy to invite you back again in the future.
Please, yeah. I understand we caught you right in the middle of your vacation transition here, so it worked out perfectly. Just let us know your schedule again, and we'll schedule that dive into the rabbit hole we call Milsom West. That'd
Sounds
be pretty
good.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you again for coming.
Hey, thanks, guys. It's been great.
Hopefully this has been an awesome experience for you, and hopefully you'll come by next time.
Absolutely. So,
All right, and that is it. We're going to sign off here. This is Poi. We got
Mac.
You got
Yeah.
Tack.
And Merlin.
All right, that's it.
All right, we'll catch you guys next time.
All right, peace.
See ya.